Okay, Grandma. So we're here for you to share your life story, basically, with the family.
I hope
Okay?
everybody likes it.
They will. I know they will. How about let's start with your full name?
My name's Elizabeth May Renfro.
And did that name come from anywhere? Like, is it special in any
No,
way?
my mom liked them names, so and they were her initials. All of us had EMC.
I did not
So,
know that.
Mom and
EMC.
all of us girls did.
Oh my
So
gosh, I never knew that. Okay. And then what month and year were you born?
I was born in September 11th, 1927.
Okay. All right. So, can you give a little background of like let's start with the family. So like the Curtis family and the Skinner family. So, when you were born, you don't have to give names and all that kind of stuff, but just an overview of like who was your mom's family? Think about like some of, your great grandkids that might not even know what your mom's maiden name was and their family, and then your dad's name and their
Okay.
family.
I don't know a whole lot about my mom. I can give you part of it
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Uh,
Start with their last name.
my mom's last name was Skinner, and I think her folks all came from Iowa someplace, and
Oh,
I don't know where Grandpa. He just always lived around there in Palmer. He was blind, and she was
oh,
sickly all the time, so we had to take a lot of good care of them. Mom
yeah.
had to do for them all the time.
Because
I,
did she have
yeah,
tuberculosis?
they
Yeah.
said they thought she did, but all the tests never did ever really show it.
Okay.
And she spent time in the sanitarium and everything, but she was pretty sickly. Mom said she had a car wreck when she was young and went through a windshield and punctured one lung, so she only had one
Oh,
lung.
okay. Okay.
So that kind of hindered her a lot.
Yeah.
And on my dad's side, well, on that side, the Skinner side, mom had seven. There was 7 kids altogether.
Man.
Now on my dad's side, there was 10, 5 boys and 5 girls. So there's a lot on the Curtis side. That
Yeah.
I don't want to go into all that, but
Yeah,
there's a
right, right,
lot.
right, 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 right. So Curtis was your dad's side.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you all live together in the same town?
In the same town. Yep. One lived on one side of railroad tracks and one on the other. So we lived I'd say, about 4 or 5 blocks apart from each one.
Okay.
And I went there every day to both of them. Every
Oh,
day that I lived, I run quick as school's out. I run to one grandma and then the other because I had to do stuff for both of them.
yeah.
So
Okay, so tell the truth. Did you have a favorite?
oh yeah,
Which was your favorite grandma?
my grandma Curtis. She was real gentle and kind and just really liked everything. And always
Yeah.
told me when I made a mistake.
Oh,
I
she
like
did?
that.
She did?
Yeah, I'd go over there and if I'd be mad, she'd say, "Now don't you get mad. Now you got to do this and that," and she'd straighten me up real quick. And I like
Oh,
that.
good
She really,
advice. Yeah, she gave you good
yeah.
advice.
And
Okay.
I went to the other grandma. She hated everybody. And she was mad at everybody, never liked nobody. Boy, I'd get so mad I could go. I'd go home and tell mom I'm not going there again, but I had to go because
Yeah.
mom sent me.
Yeah.
So,
And I think you don't have to say it here, but I think you told me she used to call you really bad names, right?
oh yeah, she called me everything.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't know what all them names was
Yeah.
at that time. I thought,
Yeah.
what in the world? And
Oh,
I didn't hate it to go down there and do anything, but
yeah.
mom did most of it. But she sent at me a lot because I was the oldest one, and
Yeah.
if she was working the house and stuff, she couldn't go. So
And you mostly cleaned and grandma like cooked for her and like
yeah,
did her personal care
yeah.
and stuff like
She
that.
spent quite a bit of time in a sanitarium, and Grandpa was
Hmm.
blind, so
Yeah.
I went down to help him all the time. He was a nice old guy,
Yeah.
and he had raised chickens in a garden, and I had to help him get all these chickens in. If a storm was coming, boy, whatever I was doing, I had to fly to Grandma's house to help take care
Oh.
of all that stuff. And then if he worked out in the garden, he'd get on his hands and knees and do that garden work.
Just feel around
Just
and
feel around and knew how to
wow.
get all that. And
Wow.
he had a pretty garden too. I thought I can't figure out how he ever done
Oh,
that.
he did it blind. Well, one thing you told me that I think is kind of makes me giggle is when she would get mad, when Grandma Skinner would get mad and yell at you, what would he say to her?
Yeah, he'll say, "Old lady, go back into the other room and stay in that bed."
Old lady, I
He
love
called
that.
her old lady. And one time Art called me old lady, and that made me so mad.
Oh, yeah. That makes me laugh because I could just hear him yelling, "Old lady, get in the other room." Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's
'cause
good.
she didn't like nobody. Grandpa liked everybody, but Grandma
Yeah.
couldn't see nothing good in nobody, you know. So
Well, when you tell stories like now and in the past, I get the feeling that you really resemble your Grandma Curtis. Like
oh
you
yeah,
wanted to be
I
like your
made up
Grandma
my
Curtis.
mind when I was a kid. I'm going to be like Grandma Curtis. There's no way.
Yeah,
And I would
yeah.
always say that. And I told my mom, I said, if you get like your mom, I ain't going to talk to you. And for years, Mom would come to me and she'd say, am I like Grandma? And I said, no, you're still
Oh,
okay. I said,
I
you'll know
love
when I
that.
quit talking to you that it
Yeah,
ain't
that
good.
you've turned into your mom. I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's good. That's good. What about, okay, so you were just talking about the Skinners. So here's a question that Lacey asked. When you were at Grandpa Skinner's, tell the story about how you stepped on a baby chicken. What happened?
Yeah, a big storm come up, and I always know when a storm come, I had to go down there
Yeah,
because
yeah.
so whatever I was at, I run down there because I had to help get them chickens and stuff in,
Yeah.
and they had them in a little pen, and I was running around there getting them because it started raining real hard, and I'd hail them, and I grabbed it, and I grabbed one and stepped on it, and I just slid, and
Oh no,
it was
yuck.
awful. I can still feel that chicken underneath my foot. I was like, oh.
Oh, yuck. Okay, that's a gross memory.
Oh, I won't forget that.
Oh my gosh. Well, what about like the how about a timeline of where you lived? Could you talk about Palmer and Taylorville, is that right? Can you give the timeline of your first 16 years? Where did you live where?
I lived in Palmer most all that time.
Okay,
Taylorville, we had to
okay.
go to Taylorville to do most of the stuff. We did have two grocery stores. We had two grocery stores and a barber shop and about three or four taverns and, and
Nothing's changed.
post office and
Okay.
a bank. Now the bank was one bank that never went broke during all the
Oh,
depression.
really?
And yeah,
Really?
Mom said that bank was able to stay open and everybody was
Wow.
able to get there.
Well,
I
that's
was
good.
born right at the end of the depression time.
Okay.
So I was caught in a little bit of it. But I can tell you a little bit on that.
Yeah, go on.
Mom said that for the last week or two of that, she said all they had was onions. So she said I had to eat onions breakfast, dinner, and supper. She said I cooked, I
Really?
fried, I boiled, I done everything I could think of to fix onions because that's all we had.
When she was pregnant with you?
Uh-huh. It might have been even when I was born or
Oh
right at
my
that time.
gosh. Do
Yeah.
you like onions?
I love onions.
Oh my gosh, that could
So
have
it
something to
didn't
do
affect
with it. Or maybe it sparked your love of onions.
My
Oh,
head.
that's so interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, so tell the story about how, okay, because at one point you moved to another town with a bigger school, and okay, well, two stories I want you to tell. One, tell what it was like in Palmer, where your house was related to the school, and what Grandma Curtis was known, your mom was known for, like
Okay,
the
yeah.
water story and the nurse story, that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah, I live right across the street from the schoolhouse, so I never wanted to be late because I was late when I lived out in the country all the time. So I did like that, and it was handy. Real, I liked going to school and got to come home every day for dinner. So
Yeah, dinner is lunch.
yeah, lunch.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And if I didn't eat breakfast, I was mad. I was a pouty kid. and
Hard to believe. Hard to believe.
And I'd go to school, and if my mom didn't let me eat what I wanted for breakfast, she'd say, well, go to school. So I'd go to school and come home at dinner time, and I was real hungry.
Okay, so start back up. So you lived across the street from the school.
Yeah.
And you would go home for lunch. But tell people what you wanted for breakfast that Grandma wouldn't always let you have.
I always wanted to have cinnamon rolls, and I wanted to run this or cake. I was a cake at that time.
That's what I thought, yeah.
And the store he'd get it every day because he knew I come and got it.
A little chocolate cake,
Yeah,
right?
It was about that big around, and I did just get it because I knew I was coming to get it. And Mom once in a while wouldn't let me go, and I'd get mad and go to school, and I wouldn't eat no breakfast. So I come home for dinner, and she said, going back to school. And I said, Mom, I'm hungry. She said, nope, no dinner. And I didn't get to eat it. But I come home with supper. I didn't say a word, boy. I was ready to eat.
And you got to eat supper?
Yeah, I got to eat supper.
So tell me through, because I'm just thinking like, okay, so you'd get up early enough in the morning to walk down to the store to get your little chocolate cake?
Yeah, it was only 2 blocks.
Oh, okay.
Stores were real close to school and everything.
And again, I always think like you say you were poor, but to me, like to go down and get a little chocolate cake, that seems like kind of a
Well,
luxury.
Dad had a store bill there. We was only allowed to get so much on that store bill. But
Okay.
so we had two grocery stores, so we shopped at both of them. And
Okay.
we run a bill there, and then Dad paid it at the end of every week, or every
That's
month.
interesting.
And
Okay.
so if one store didn't carry, the other did. So we back and forth, and they worked out pretty nice like that. So,
Yeah, that is a good thing. And they knew to have your little chocolate cakes in stock.
yep, both they knew exactly what I was coming for. Whenever I got
Here
there.
she is. Okay, so tell about what role your mom, Grandma Curtis, played in your school.
Oh yeah, well when I'd get off of school, I'd be really mad about something. Boy, I'd run to Grandma Curtis's and I'm mad about this and that. And she'd no. She started preaching to me and tell me. Time I got home, I was straightened
You're
up pretty
feeling
good.
good. Feeling good. That's good. What about if somebody at your school got hurt?
Oh yeah, well mom was the doctor and the nurse and everything. We lived across the street, and there was quite a few kids that got hurt in school. And one little boy that mom had taken care of when she was younger, he was about my age, and he had kind of
Epilepsy?
epileptic
Yeah,
fits of
yeah.
some sort. So mom said, "Now, if this happens, you come get me." And it did one time. He fell out on the floor, and boy, I flew out the door and run got mom because
Yeah.
he had to put something in his mouth. They always thought he'd swallow his tongue, but that's not possible.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
but they had to put something to hold his tongue down.
Yeah.
And so that was the only scene I ever did see of it. But mom had taken care of him when he was younger.
So really, I think you told me anybody at school that got hurt, they would go over to your
Yeah,
house.
mom was their nurse.
Yeah, yeah.
She never had no nurse's training, but she knew how to do it all.
But she did work as a nurse aide for a short period of time,
Yeah,
right?
but she did after that. That was way after we left there.
Oh, okay.
I was
That was
already
after
married
that.
then.
Oh, okay,
But she
okay.
became working as a nurse then.
And what about, I think you might have been in fifth grade, because you talk about this teacher that you liked, that you went over to your house to get some water. Tell that story.
That was about I was in the
seventh grade. Okay.
Seventh or eighth grade. He taught school. That was
Okay.
our first man teacher. I kind of stuck on him.
Stuck on him.
Yeah,
Okay.
his name was Mr. Chestnut.
Mr. Chestnut. Okay, okay.
And so school somehow our water was off, so we had a well on the back porch there. So he said, everybody go and Liz and get a drink of water. So we all lined up and got over there. I was mad at him.
Yeah, why were you mad? I forgot. You got in trouble
Because I
for
run
something.
down the steps.
Oh, yeah,
I was on
right.
the second floor, and I run down the steps, and he made me go up and down them steps. I had to write it 100 times on a paper. I won't run up and down this step. Oh, and I was mad at him.
So you're mad, so you all go over and get water, and then what
get a
happens?
drink, and come his turn, I grabbed the cup and took it in the house. I said, "You can't have one." He said, "I'll get it." Knocked on the door and asked my mom for it.
And she gave it to him?
And she gave it to him. She knew it was me. He said Liz got mad, wouldn't let me have it.
Oh, that's funny. Now, flash forward. Did you ever see him ever again?
Yep, I did. One time I was down in Norfolk, Virginia. This was after I was already married. And he was in the hospital down there. And I was visiting my husband, but I was also staying with a cousin. And she went over to the hospital, and I said, "Well, I'll go with you."
Yeah.
And when I walked in the door, there he was. It was the very teacher that I had.
Oh, my gosh. Because he had quit teaching to go to the service, right?
Yeah, he had to go. He wasn't married, so he was drafted.
Oh.
See, everybody every boy in Palmer had to go into service.
Wow.
And I said, we had no boys at all in that town.
Yeah.
In around 17, 18-year age.
Yeah.
If I was a boy, I'd have had to go.
Wow.
But they all had to go in there. And right off the bat, they sent them to some island.
Well, didn't you say Normandy?
Normandy Beach
Yeah.
Yeah. And the two boys that I really liked a lot, and they liked me real lot, both of them got killed over there. In fact, every boy in town got killed. There was one family in there that had 5 boys, and they all got drafted, all 5 of them.
Oh.
And they had come out a week or 2 earlier. Somehow, that they wouldn't before they kept all the boys together as a family.
Oh,
And another family, it wasn't this family, but another one, all 5 of them got killed. So when this family's 5 boys had to go, they said, "We got to separate you. We'll not let this happen again."
Yeah, yeah.
So a couple of them got killed
Oh, my gosh.
out of that family. So
That's one thing you and I've talked about, too. It just seems like there should have been, or there should be a better system, like to wipe out all of the young men of one whole farming community.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
right. And
not great.
all the men in the town,
Yeah, there's no way for that town to keep going,
no,
you know?
it was terrible. I think all them boys got killed in there like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So.
Oh, well, you saw your teacher because he had gotten injured, and he was the first guy you saw there. And then you stayed and talked to him the whole rest of the time.
Oh, yeah. I spent all my time talking to him while she visited whoever it was. I don't know who she was seeing.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
That's a small world when you see your 7th grade principal or teacher in
And he liked it too, because boy, man, he said, "Come on, we'll go over here. We'll have a good talk."
I bet that made his day. Really, really. All right, let's see. Here's some other questions. This is kind of I don't know the story. Tell us about when they thought Aunt Eunice had polio, and what she and Ellen had to do, and how Grandpa Curtis wouldn't let her go to the hospital. You remember that?
Well,
I don't know this story.
I don't know. Eunice was sick quite a little bit. She was the youngest one, and she was sick. Now, I don't know if she had polio.
Or maybe they were worried. She thought it. They
could have been, because I know I was already married, and I was. So Mom said, "You can't come home. You can come in the yard and look at her through the window, but not say nothing to her." You know, it wasn't polio. She thought she had typhoid fever.
Oh.
Because we had just moved in this house, and you get that from drinking water.
Really?
And, yeah, typhoid fever is caught from drinking water, but it wasn't. There was a carrier in town that he opened up a restaurant, and he served Eunice and Harry and Richard, both of them, an ice cream cone. But Eunice said she remembered he'd come out of the bathroom and he dipped up them ice cream cones. And she was the one that got the germs from him. And,
really?
That's how they had run it down to that.
Because
they closed up that restaurant and everything.
And how sick was she? She got pretty sick?
Oh, yeah. She was sick. She was so sick she couldn't even walk.
Oh my gosh,
she was quarantined in probably about 4 or 5 months. At that time, you really had, and Mom had it when she was a kid, because she said most everybody died with typhoid fever.
Ooh.
You can't feed them. They can't have food. And they begged for food.
Oh, no.
And because Mom said, Eunice just begged and begged, but I couldn't give anything. Only thing I could give her was just about a tablespoonful of water every little bit. You know?
My gosh, that's terrible.
And he said they want to eat when they have a fever for a long time. Then they get over that fever, but then they're hungry. And you can't feed them because the food will kill them.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. Nowadays, they sure got something to do better.
Yeah.
But Mom said she couldn't feed them. And Mom and her stayed in the house. Dad had to stay out, too. He couldn't go in.
That'd be torture as a mom to watch your
day
child
and
be
night.
so hungry. And
one time, Mom said, she said, I stood up on the bed and hit the ceiling with a fly swatter because Eunice kept saying, "Look, kill them flies. And she said, I beat that ceiling all night. Standing over that fly swatter.
Because she was like delusional.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, she lost all of her hair.
Did she really?
She couldn't walk, because when I go home, but I couldn't go in. She said, now you can look in the window, but don't give no expression on your face.
Yeah.
Because she don't know she looks this bad. Because she had no hair or nothing.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I thought, oh, boy, to try to keep a straight face was really hard.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So
that sounds terrible.
That was hard.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell us about staying in Palmer. Let's stay on that for a while. Tell us who your best friend was, or best friends.
Yeah, well, Evelyn was my best friend. She was the girl. I lived in front of the schoolhouse, and she lived in back of it. So we just lived together. She lived at my house. I didn't like to live at other people's house, so she lived with us. Even moved to Chicago when we moved up there. She went with us.
Really? Well, wait. When did you move to Chicago?
Oh, well, that was when the war broke out. Dad was a heavy equipment guy, and he was working for a defense plant up there it was in Kankakee, Illinois.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
And he was working in a defense plant, so they had to stay up there then, because when the war broke, they didn't know how much ammunition it was going to need. So that's the only time we ever moved with him. When Dad would try to go on different jobs, we didn't go.
How long of a time period was that?
About 4 months.
Okay.
I was in the 8th grade of school, and I had to go to this country school. There was 2 girls, me and another one, in the 8th grade. And all that time, I didn't have one class. And I'm thinking, when I go back to Palmer, I'm going to be behind. So, boy, I studied and studied and studied. And the main thing I done, I couldn't think what they was really studying. I thought, I know they have to get up and say the Gettysburg Address. So, boy, I said, Mom, I got to learn that. And I got to know that because if I don't get nothing else, I want to stay with that class that I'm in.
Yeah.
Boy, I learned that every word was just perfect. And I don't know how much I told, and they were so proud of me when I came back because they let me go into the high school and say it, and all the
Really?
classes.
You're like famous.
Oh, I got famous over that one day, and I was bashful up till then.
Yeah.
Then I thought, pretty good.
See, that always surprises me. You always kind of joke and say, oh, a dumb country girl or shy. And I think the people that know you now would be like, what?
Well, I really was. But Red had to say, I have to give him credit. He's the one that got that out of me.
So
at beauty school.
Okay, let's jump ahead then since we're on that. So tell that story. Like tell that story.
Yeah, well, I always wanted to be a beautician. So Dad always said he'd build me a place there in Palmer. But good thing I didn't, because I did everybody's hair the way it was, and it was all free.
Yeah, because Grandma made you do it for free, right?
Can't charge. And I'm doing everybody's hair free. All the women and kids too, And I didn't think that was right.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I can't have a beauty shop here
because I do it for free. Yeah.
So when I did get into be a beautician, I got a beauty shop, and forgot what I was going to tell you.
Oh, about how Grandpa helped you be a conversationalist.
Oh, yeah. So when I started in beauty school, I kept saying I wanted to go. So he said, well, go ahead if you can save the money up. And I said, I'll get that money some way.
Yeah.
And I gave him $5 down. And Red's brother had to give me the $5 because we didn't have it.
For the white shoes and the white dress, right?
Yeah. That. Well, and he gave me what they call a S&H stamp.
Oh, yeah, right.
With that. So I got me one pair of shoes and one dress that I wore for 9 months, 7 days a week, 6 days a week.
Oh my gosh.
Washed that dress every night.
Oh my gosh. Did you have a dryer or you just hung it dry?
No, I just had hung it up and dried.
Oh my gosh.
It was ready to wear it the next day.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So yeah, so I made it through beauty school on there.
So when you started cutting people's hair and you realized, oh my gosh, I got to talk to these people.
That's it. I thought that when I first went into school, I come home, I said, oh my God, Red, I got to talk to these people. What did I say? And he said, well, talk about your kids. And he said, everybody likes to hear kids. And then he said, read the paper, kept a headline on it, and you talk a little bit about what that is. So that was my study every night. Read that, and then I still had study on what I was doing for beauty work.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had a big book to study on that.
Oh, man. Did you tell me, I can't remember if this is accurate or not, that he would sometimes read the newspaper out loud while you were cooking dinner? So you would know?
So I could know what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
He said, here, listen to this. Now, this is good to talk about.
That's good.
And later on in life, he said, I wish I hadn't taught you how to talk.
Oh, ouch.
He said, you just don't know when to shut up. I said, I learned that in the beauty school.
I love it. Well, I like hearing that this is not the first time I've heard that story, but I like hearing that story because I've told you this before. My view of Grandpa Renfro was he was, in my young life, was kind of a cranky dude sometimes. So
he was set in his ways. But he was good about helping. I said, that's one thing I really liked about him. He really knew how to talk to people.
Yeah.
And he was real easy to get along with me anyway.
Yeah.
He was strict with kids and everything.
Yeah.
He was pretty good with it. But he knew how to judge people. I like that idea. I thought, how could you know it? He'd tell my boys, don't run with this boy, don't go with that one, because...
And he was always right.
He was right. And the kids would come home and tell him, Dad, you was right. That kid got in trouble. He said, glad I wasn't with him, So.
Yeah.
So
That's
he was a good judge of character.
That's good. Well, that makes me feel happy that he was so good for you.
Yeah.
In that way.
He really was.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot, I tell you.
Yeah.
I was a country girl.
A country girl gone entrepreneur. We'll come back to that. But I want you to tell the story and tell, so 2 questions. Is this the scariest thing that ever happened to you? And tell the story about trying to sneak to the drive-in movie theater when you lived in Palmer.
Oh.
Was that that couldn't have been the scariest thing that ever happened to you? I know we'll go on to talk about that.
Well, the scariest thing was, I had a couple scary things. I got my finger cut off when I was 5. That was pretty scary.
Tell that. That's on the list. Tell that one. What happened there?
Yeah. Well, we was at my grandma and grandma's Colonel Skinner's house, and she sent me and George, that was a cousin, out to pick up some wood, and he picked up the axe, and we never was to touch that axe because it was sharp. And I grabbed the wood, and he cut down on it and caught the end of my finger.
Ah!
And I could have lost my whole hand or my arm or everything, but he just
Yeah.
caught the end of it
Oh my
and cut the end of
gosh.
my finger. Then Grandma's come out, oh, look at there, you killed her. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die. And he
Oh
was running
no.
around the house and screaming, I killed her, I killed her. And I'm thinking, I'm going to die. And I started running around the house.
No.
It was just, this is in the country. Well, Grandpa and a couple of his boys were out
And
in the,
Grandpa's blind.
yeah, we
Oh
were out in the field and they could
no.
hear us screaming, see. And all of them come running to the house quick and to see what was wrong because they knew something was wrong because I'm screaming, I'm going to die, and he's screaming, I killed her.
Oh my gosh. Oh
Well,
my
that kind of a
gosh.
scary thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, that goes with Grandma Skinner being the eternal pessimist too.
yeah,
Oh, you're
because
gonna die.
yeah, always saying, she's always going to die, and
Oh
she
my
fainted
gosh.
a lot. And I thought every time she fainted, oh, gosh, she died.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mom fainted one time, and I thought, oh my God, Mom died.
Oh, she just put that seed in your brain. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it was terrible because she just was all up on the wrong side all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. Do you think seeing that, like really negative grandma and really positive grandma, like helped you in life? I mean, you said you want to be like Grandma Curtis, but like, did it help you
Oh
like
yeah.
know like I am not going to be like that?
Yeah,
Like,
that's right. I even told my mom, I said, if you get like your
yeah,
mom, I'm not going to talk to you. And she even asked me later, a lot of times later, am I like Grandma? And I said, nope, you better not get like her. You're not like her yet.
Oh
But
my
she never
gosh,
did.
that's funny. Okay, so tell the drive-in movie story. I
Oh,
like that one. The girls going to the drive-in.
yeah, well, I was about, I guess we were probably about between 12 and 14 years old.
Okay.
And there was 5 of us girls. And we wanted to go to a midnight show. And I said, so we all kind of lied to our parents. And now that's the first time I can remember I ever lied. And we told them that one of the guys, and his name was Carl Arthur, was going to drive us to the midnight show, which was about 10 miles away.
Mm.
And so I didn't know at the time that 2 of these girls were sisters, and they already had some men picked out to take us up there. And so when we got up to there to the car, we was going to hitchhike to Taylorville, which was 10 miles. I don't know how we was going to get home because it was a midnight show. It had been 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
And so when I got there was 5 men, and I looked around. I said, 5 men and 5 girls. And we was all kids, and these were men and weren't boys. And I said to Evelyn, I said, I'm not going. And by that time, I run across the highway because we was on one side of the highway, and I lived on the other side. And I started for home when this guy was right after me. Well, I started screaming, Dad, Dad, because we didn't live too far off the highway.
Yeah.
And Dad woke up enough that he jumped up and he was on the porch when I got there.
Yeah.
And when he come out on the porch, well, the guy turned around and ran back the other way. Because if he'd have caught me, I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, right.
We'd all went to tail. So anyway, the guys, Evelyn said to me later, she said, them guys said, will she tell? And she said, yep, she'll tell.
Thank God.
Yeah. And Dad
So
said
what-
them guys had been in that tavern all day, and they was all pretty well drunk. And here we was just all teenage kids.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, man, none of us might never got home.
So what'd the guys do?
Well, they took them up to the show and let them out in front of the show, and they left.
Oh, thank
So,
God. Thank
yeah,
God.
my dad went around and we told of other fathers, and 2 or 3 of them got in the car to go up there to get the girls,
Ooh.
And because the boys kept saying, well, she tell, and they made them get out right in front of the show
Yeah.
because they thought, hey, your dad will pick you up right here.
Yeah. So did you ever hitchhike ever again?
No, never did again. That was my worst. And I give that story to a lot of girls. Don't you get out there and hitchhike because you don't know what you get into.
Right. That's a good lesson to tell people.
All 5 of us could have gotten killed right there.
Totally. Or, and worse. Ooh, okay. All right. So let's move on. Let's see. Well, tell the story about, you said this a little bit earlier, but we weren't filming yet. So when did your family get their first car? How old were you? And tell us about how you learned to drive and when you got your driver's license and everything.
Yeah, I think Dad got the first car. I was probably maybe 12, 14 years old because I was driving the first car. So, and he got the first car. I don't know what kind. I got a picture of what kind of car it is. Seemed to me like it was a Ford because that's all Dad ever got was Fords.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was a little,
his whole life? Ford guy his whole life?
Dad lived a Ford.
Oh, okay.
Every car had to be a Ford.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Okay.
but I rode a lot in them, horse and buggy. A lot. So, yeah, our first car was that. I was probably about, I think, maybe 12, 14 years old, because I was driving by 15.
Okay.
Because Dad had to, if he had to do something, and he worked sometime in Decatur, we lived in Palmer, which is about 40 miles apart.
Okay.
I'd have to take him down there and come back, and that time didn't even have no driver's license or nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
wow.
I thought that was kind of scary to
Yeah.
drive that highway and all that time by yourself and not even being old enough to drive or nothing else.
I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh.
there wasn't very many cars on the road.
Yeah, yeah. Thank God.
Yeah, well, and Dad being a farmer, he had to have a lot of stuff. So I was constantly go to the store, get gasoline, and get this or get that.
Yeah.
Dad had 5 brothers, and they all farmed right there together. They all lived real close, so one helped one and one helped the other. So that's how they did their farming work and everything.
That's good.
So,
Well, that kind of goes in. Alex Jafrida wanted to know like a typical day of your life as a child, and like just what was regular life like. What were your hobbies? Did anybody play sports? Did girls play sports then? You know, like did you listen to music? What was your favorite food? And one thing I think we should talk about is your mom baking. Like, tell us what your day was like and what your meals were like.
Yeah, we never played. We played games at school or something, but you got home, you didn't have time to play games because you had work you had to do. Now, my dad wasn't a great one to believe that you got a job, you got to do it, you know.
Yeah, he had a big work ethic.
Hard, but we had to, when I got home from school, we had to go to the elevator and get corn cobs because that's what we started the fire with. So every kid in town had to go to the elevator and get corn cobs. We had to get it in a bushel basket, or we had a little red wagon, and we could set the baskets in that. We'd get that.
Did other people have a red wagon?
Well, no. Well, the schoolhouse had, one of the stores had a big cart, and the first kids that could get to up there to the store to borrow that cart could use that cart. See, I liked the 2 boys, so I got a pretty good chance to get it. But nice. We all had to go, because the elevator, when they had corn, all them cobs came down, and the whole town took the corn cobs because they started a fire with it. Okay. So that was a way of getting rid of the corn cobs, see.
That's smart.
Yeah, because everybody needed a fire, and you started that. So
yeah. So you went to school, you then got home, you ran up to the elevator.
Ran up at the elevator and start bringing them corn cobs home. We'd have to do that every night. Every kid was up there getting their bags full of, they had bags or a box or whatever you had to get your corn cobs in to get the fire started, you know.
Well, real quick, back to school. Did you have classrooms like first grade, second grade, third grade, or you all together?
Well, we had three in for like first, second, and third was in one, and third, fourth, and fifth. So that's how we had them. We had 3 in a room.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we only had one schoolhouse, and it was right across the street from where I lived.
Yeah,
so that was nice.
Good. That was good. So you'd get the corn cobs, and then you'd also have to run back to Grandma Skinner's house.
Yeah.
Do something for her.
Yeah, the grandpa, he was blind, so I had to go down there and help him get his, if he had baby chickens or something, I had to always help him get that in.
Yeah.
And he got down on his hands and knees, could feel the garden and everything, and he knew what he planted and what he could get out of the garden and everything.
Yeah.
And but I always had to go help him do a lot of stuff because Grandma wasn't always there because she spent a lot of time in the sanitarium, but he always had a lot of work to do, and him being blind. Yeah. And he wanted me to cook for him, and he raised pigeons. And
what did he raise pigeons for?
I don't know, to eat. He killed the pigeons and skinned them. Then I could clean them good, and I'd cook them for him.
Oh,
on
seriously?
An old cook stove that you had to have wood and coal and stuff in. And I'd cook that for him, you know.
Like a pigeon stew or something?
I don't know
what the heck?
I just fried it most of the time.
Oh, man.
Mom taught me how to fry chicken, so I know how to fry them pigeons, you know.
That is so gross.
They say, will you cook me these pigeons? I'd cook them, you know.
Oh, my
I'm
God.
about 10 years old doing all that.
Wow, wow. Okay, what about, so did you have dinner? Like, did you have to be home by such and such time for dinner?
Yep, if we was out playing, Dad would go out and he could put them fingers up there and whistle out. And we heard that whistle, hey, it's time to eat. Let's go.
Oh, good.
You better get home.
Good. And what would like a typical dinner be like?
Oh, we had good dinners. Mom fixed 3 meals a day. And we had it because we had a garden, and Dad had cows, and we had pigs. So we had our own meat and our own chickens and all the garden. So we had 3 or 4 different kinds of vegetables all the time on the table.
Nice.
Kids would come later on and say, what do you got all that vegetables? Or we want to have one dish. I said, one dish? I said, we have everything's out of the garden. So
Yeah.
might be 10 things on there, yeah.
Do you think that's why one of my favorite memories is when we come to your house, there's always, applesauce, coleslaw, beets, veggies, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
You got like
oh
everything out
yeah,
here.
because we always raised a garden too. So
Yeah.
you had all of it, and it all comes up at the same time. So you got to have that garden stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we did, and I'd get aggravated because you have to figure out some way to fix it so everybody's going to eat it.
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
And so tell about your mom's baking. Was she known for her baking?
Oh yeah, my mom was really good baker. She baked for about half the town.
Really?
She made bread every day. Every
Wow.
day she'd get up first thing in the morning. She'd mix up this light bread where you had to let it raise.
Oh, yeah.
And it took all day to bake the bread. And she baked, I'd say, about 6 loaves a day.
Wow.
Plus then she made cinnamon rolls, but boy, they was good. Whew. And
I don't think I ever had her homemade cinnamon rolls that I can
doubt
recall.
if you did, because
darn.
Because she got later on, she did do a few of it, but
Yeah.
I'm still trying to make them cinnamon rolls like her. I can't quite get them.
Really? Well, try them sometime on me. I want to see what
Ellen
they're like.
gave me a note one Christmas. She said, "All I want for Christmas is Mom's cinnamon rolls." And I thought, oh. So I made them, but I said they're not. Mom's was really high.
Oh,
and
really?
Mine got about like that, but hers got way up there. But she had good yeast at that time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And
okay.
yeast, if you get today, is not like that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's not. She didn't use the little packet.
No, she had a square. Hers come in a square like that, and she just cut off a chunk and use it.
Oh,
And
so
that's good yeast
interesting.
in it. I love to eat it. Ooh, that's good yeast.
Really? You just ate it?
Oh yeah.
What? What's it
let us
taste
have
like?
too much, but
What's it taste like?
kind of like paste.
Gross.
Your tongue is sticking together. It's a little bit like peanut butter, I guess you'd say.
Okay. Oh my
Didn't
gosh.
have much of a taste to it, but it's a little bit like peanut butter.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
like that.
gosh.
I like cake dough.
Oh, that's funny. My dad likes dough.
And
I bet
on
he
the
gets
cake
that from you.
nowadays it says, "Do not eat this dough."
Yeah,
And
because it's
every
got
box
raw
has got
eggs in
that
it.
on
Yeah.
and- Oh yeah, your dad made one time and ate the whole cake.
I know. And then he said his stomach roar. Wonder where he got that from.
I don't know where he got that from.
That's hysterical. Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Okay, I think that was good. We covered that on your youth. Let's see. Oh, did your parents take you a lot of places when you were young? Was your house one that the kids hung out at? And when did you first ride an escalator? So first tell about, did your parents take you a lot of places when you were young?
Well, not really. We had to go to Taylorville to the grocery store, which was 10 miles, and we did never go. For a while, we had a couple of little stores there in Palmer, but not too much. Well, it was still there when I was there.
Yeah.
And but to get the real lot of groceries, they'd go to Taylorville to get it. And so we didn't get to go up there. I always kept saying, "Let us go, Mom. Let us go see," but she wouldn't do it. We couldn't. We went to Taylorville on Saturday night. They had a dance up there.
Oh.
And so Mom and Dad would take us up there. They had like square dances and round dances. And Dad was a square dance caller. And Mom taught all the girls and boys how to square dance.
Really?
So, yeah.
Is that where Ellen gets it from?
Yep, that's where she started out.
Okay.
Now I was bashful and I stood back, I wouldn't do it. But Ellen would get right out there.
Wow.
But I just didn't want to do it, see.
Really?
And yeah, I never learned to dance very good. I could square dance fairly good, but I liked that, but the rest of it I didn't.
So a side note real quick though, were you raised Baptist? Because I always blamed the fact that you didn't dance on your being Baptist.
Yeah, well, a lot of us that Dad thought it was kind of a sin, but we put a gymnasium on our school there in Palmer, and in order to pay for this gymnasium, they decided they'd hold dances. So Mom and Dad could both know how to dance, so they taught all the kids how to square dance.
Really?
So
was it controversial?
Well, they did that. He did that because we wanted to pay for the gym. It cost us a little bit to get in. I don't know what we had to pay.
Okay.
Probably nickel or dime or something.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been much. Maybe us kids got in free. I don't know.
Huh.
But that way they'd got money. And if us kids could dance, we'd get in one end where all the kids was dancing. Mom and Dad would kind of teach all of us. And a lot of the parents would come to see what these kids was doing,
And they
So,
were okay with it.
yeah, so then they
Okay.
all, and Mom and Dad taught a lot of the older people to square dance. But Mom said
Wow.
that's the only dancing that once in a while we had them in different houses when we was growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Like somebody could play a fiddle or something, they'd have a little dance. And he said, my dad just learned to dance. Well, dad was, Mom was 15 and Dad was 17 when I was born.
Oh, that's
So,
good. That's good to know. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because they were young too, see. So
Yeah.
and they always hauled
So they
us
were
around.
young, cool parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And they hauled all of us around. Everything went on at my house because I didn't like to go to people's house. Dad said, bring them home, bring them home. We
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
see these kids.
Yeah, that's the
So,
kind of parent I like to be too.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the summertime, we had about 3 acres, and we have a barbecue out there, and we roasted hot dogs, and even tried to roast turnips.
What? Did it work out?
I know. Dad didn't like turnips, but my mom did, and we raised turnips in the garden. So
Yeah.
we'd run out of anything to barbecue and put on their sticks. So Dad said, stick them turnips on there and roast them.
I like turnips, but I'm not sure I'd like them roasted like that.
Yeah, while we were having a weenie roast and everything, we played different games, and Mom and Dad played right along with us.
Oh, that sounds so
there.
fun.
Hide and seek and whatever thing you could think of. We had chalkboard and, on the sidewalk more. Hopscotch.
Oh, hopscotch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it sounds like your house was a fun place to be.
Yep, every kid liked it then. And at night for supper, there was one family that had him and her were separated, and I think neither one was home. There was 4 boys, and 2 of these boys were my age, and they all had to kind of just root for themselves. So they offered to do anything. So the boys would come to school, and first both of them would hit me because they knew Mom could
not hit you, but hit you like, hey,
I need a job, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And you want me tonight because they had to get kindling in and get corn cobs in the elevator. So I'd say, okay, tonight I'll take Junior Houston. Or the next time I'd be Tommy Houston. Say, because them 2 really didn't have no mother.
Wow.
Mom and Dad felt sorry for them, so they said, get them. And I like both their boys were good workers. So Dad didn't have no boys, so them was 2 that they. So anyway, I'd come home at noon. I'd say, well, Tommy be here tonight for supper. Sometimes both of them, depended on, because then they'd help out. And Dad said, well, bring both over, so that way they can mow the yard. And they'll do this, weed the garden. Or he had 100 jobs for kids, so they all like to go there because he could put them to work and Mom feed them.
That's good. That's really good.
That was their pay, just to get to eat.
Was to get the good dinner. So knowing how Grandma and Grandpa Curtis were in all of our lives, like it really, I hear a common thread that Grandma and Grandpa Curtis were good people their whole lives.
They were.
Good people, helping others, always helping others.
They helped the whole town. They had 10 kids, and Dad, 5 boys and 5 girls. And Dad was about the 3rd or 4th one down the line.
Yeah.
In there.
But somehow he got a really good work ethic and a really good morals.
Yeah, he did. They were good.
Because
church.
not everybody in his family, his brothers and sisters, not everyone had good morals.
Well, I'd say about half of them were good Christians, and the other half kind of went the other way.
Yeah.
When part of them moved to St. Louis first, and they kind of fell away from going to church and doing what Grandpa wanted. But then most of them, I think they all turned out fairly good. None of them got into any trouble or anything, but they just wasn't all good Christian people.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, it was.
That they were always a good role model.
Yeah, Mom and Dad really did. They went to church, and Dad had good ideas all the time. We had ice cream socials, and we had cake bakes and different stuff that Mom and Dad set up at the church all the time for us to do.
So good.
Yeah. We had free shows. I have to tell you about that. We had free shows in the park. We had a little park up there in the middle of town, and right in the center of the park was a one-cell jail. Nobody that I ever know was ever put in that jail.
Okay.
But there was one cell, and we always peeked in the window.
Anybody in there?
Never did in my lifetime know there. Dad said I don't think we ever had a key for it.
Oh my gosh. So
we did have parties up there around the park up there.
Okay.
Everybody would have Dad would set up for the whole town, bring up their stuff, and we'll all have a picnic up here in the park, you know.
Wow.
So every so often we'd have a picnic up in the park. We had free shows up there in the park.
That is really neat. So I'm totally getting the sense too that that's where you get you were always the party planner, the hostess.
Yeah,
you totally got that from them. Yeah.
Well, Mom and Dad was young, see, so and they liked it too. So I think Mom and Dad got a big kick out of it because we always had popcorn, made popcorn balls, and made candy. And I got choked one time and thought I was going to die.
Oh no! Had Grandma Skinner been there, she would have said, "She's dying, she's dying."
Well, I was eating that chocolate candy and got choked, and I run in the living room, and Dad and Mom was sitting there, and I couldn't breathe. See? And
Oh,
Dad grabbed me and ran out on the front porch, and he just grabbed me by my heels and turned me upside down. And I thought, God, he's going to kill me. And by that time, it started
came out.
throwing
Oh
it out.
my
You know.
gosh, good.
I never will
Whew.
forget that. I
Thank
thought,
God for
I
that.
would have died because I was choking to death on that candy.
Oh my
you know.
gosh.
And yeah,
Well, one thing I think is important to note too, like the timeline. So they were 15 and 17 when they had you.
uh-huh.
You were how old
I was 17. I had a
when you had Harry? Okay. And then because of that, I was fortunate enough to have 5 generations growing up.
Yeah, that's
So like
right.
it might not have sounded so great when you were young having babies, but for me it was great because I had 5
Yeah,
generations,
that's right.
you know,
See?
great grandma, grandma. Yeah.
I thought
yeah.
that too a lot of times. I said, Mom, I growed right up with Mom and Dad. My kids
Yeah.
growed right up with us
Yeah,
too, you
yeah.
know. So
And then I laugh and say, well, I changed the scenario and I was, I think, 32 when I had my first baby. So I doubled that.
yeah.
Oh, funny.
Well, Sandy always said that too. I'm going to break that circle.
Yep. Okay, when you would go to the general store as a kid, give an example of what some things cost that you can remember and how it might compare to now.
Yeah, no, that's something I really don't know what it costs, but I was
Yeah.
always thinking, Mom baked bread, but we did buy bread once in a while.
Yeah.
And I don't think it could be over a nickel a loaf at that.
A nickel a loaf.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say about that because everything was pretty cheap, you know.
Wow.
I often wonder how much we did pay for any of that food, but we bought
You remember
bread.
gas? Anything about gas?
Yeah, well, he had one gas pump in front of that one grocery store. So, but for a long time, said we didn't have a car, so that wasn't no worry. But when we did get a car, we could use that, get gas right there. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know what gas was. I can't, but it couldn't have been too much. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead here, but while we're talking about gas and cars, I remember years ago you telling a story about how, you know, a lot of our young people watching won't know that there used to be only full service gas stations.
yeah.
So
and,
tell us about what that was like, but also when it became self-service and you had to start using your debit or credit card. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, like the first one you just get it, you had to have, all the war broke out, and everybody had to have stamps to get gas.
Oh,
So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, you had to have a stamp, and you know, I think you got 2 gallons. It seemed to be either between 2 or 5
Oh,
gallons.
so they rationed it.
with that one stamp.
Okay.
Yeah. So luckily, since I wasn't old enough to drive, Dad and him could get a stamp for us. If you had a baby, I got for even Harry when he was just a baby.
Oh, okay.
But I had to give it to some of the older people that needed gas to go to work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, and same way with shoes, you couldn't buy shoes during that time.
Really?
Yeah, and Harry went barefooted probably until he was 2 years old because I had to give his stamps away to everybody else that was working and needed shoes. See?
Really?
And Mom said, he don't need no shoes, just put some socks on him. He can run around the house here like that, you know.
Oh my gosh.
And we give him the stamps away, you know.
Okay.
And one lady told me that her and her husband owned a filling station here in St. Louis. And she said, we had to give gas away. And she said, every time, she said, we never had a bit of gas in that car. Luckily, we lived about 4 or 5 blocks, and we could all walk up there to run this filling station in order to get this, because it was right on Lindbergh at that time. Lindbergh was the main road through St. Louis. And she said, we gave every bit of that gas away.
Really?
Yeah, because you only got 5 gallons for maybe 1 stamp or something like that.
Oh,
or maybe
man.
it's a gallon and a stamp. I don't remember how much.
Yeah.
Sugar, you had the same way with sugar. You had to have a coupon to get sugar.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that
I
was
can't even
another
imagine how tricky that must have been.
Yeah.
What about, so when you were younger and you were driving, or it's like probably when you're older and you were driving, you would go to a gas station and a guy would come out and fill up the gas. And then later they got rid of full service and they only had self-service. And was that easy transition for you?
Not me, because I wasn't used to it. And the first time I'd done that, well, I already had grandkids then, and Todd was one of the grandkids. Todd was about 6 years old, and I'd had him out to the park or something, and I said, I got to stop here and get some gas. And I said, you know how to do this, Todd? And, well, I know he didn't, but he kind of didn't want to say no.
Yeah.
So I said, well, okay. I said, let's get out and get some gas, because you had to wait on yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And so we put it in there, and he said, how much you want? How you gonna tell when it's full? I said, I don't know. Run some in there. We'll just see what you get home with it. I guess we could have asked the guy, the people, but nobody come out to help.
Right.
And so we put in, I don't know, 3 or 4 gallons. And I said, that'll do, because I don't know how much. I don't know what it even holds.
That's funny. So
about
Todd
5.
to the rescue. That's good. That's good. Oh my gosh. Okay, one thing we didn't answer, and I want you to go back to it, and it kind of ties into 2 stories. When did you first go ride an escalator? Because that story goes back to, like, you told me that Grandma and Grandpa never took you anywhere, so you really felt naive. Like, you really felt that didn't do you any good, basically.
That's right, because I didn't know even.
You didn't know the world.
Yeah, I didn't know, because when we moved to Decatur, I was in the second year high school, and this school was a solid block 4 stories high, and I've been in a school where I had 3 rooms, you know.
Yeah, 1 story, 3 rooms. Yeah.
And I think I couldn't find it. I went to school that day, and I walked the whole over them rooms. I come home and I quit. I said, I ain't going to that school, because I said, nobody told me how to get in no room, and I didn't know 1 was the bottom floor, 2 was the second floor. I didn't know that at all.
Because you had literally spent a big portion of the day roaming around 1 floor.
And I was in second year high school at that time.
Yeah.
And I said, I could blame Mom. Why didn't you tell me that these buildings was like that? I said, I didn't know, because everything I went to was on 1 floor. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you literally quit school.
I quit school, yeah.
That was it. No more.
I come home at night, and I had to walk home, because I didn't even know we had just moved there. And I thought, I don't know if I can find my way home, because I was so mad.
Gosh.
And I started out, and I thought, boy, I hope I got going right way. And I lived pretty far.
Oh,
and I had 3 or 4 books, and the farther I went, the madder I got. Boy, and I got home, and I opened that back door, and I threw them books across that floor, and I said, I quit. I'm not going another day. And I meant it, boy, I meant it. And Dad took me back 2 or 3 times, but I wouldn't go to school.
Oh,
I said, no way I'm going to school. He said, then get a job and go to work. Well, I did.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's interesting.
And then the boy that worked up there where Dad was working, he said, why didn't you tell me? I was in high school, and I should have taken her.
Oh.
I'd never been to my building I went to had about 4 rooms in it. Now, that was from 1st grade clear through 3rd year high.
Oh my gosh.
We never had 4th year. I don't know why. But we had it till 3. And now that 1 building had all that in it.
Yeah.
And I thought, good Lord. Nobody told me 2nd floor was up there. And that's why I said, if Mom and Dad had ever taken me to the store, to some of these buildings where you went on different floors, never had rode an escalator. Well, none of us, I don't think half the Palmer ever rode it. We got the Springfield, the Capitol building.
Was it on a field trip, or I can't remember what it was?
That was 8th grade school graduation.
Okay.
She took us to Springfield to see the Capitol building. We didn't see nothing but that escalator. We just rode that escalator.
Up and down. That's hysterical.
That was really
That's
something.
hysterical. Oh my gosh. Well, I found it interesting too that your folks, when you moved to Decatur, they literally said, like, okay, go to school. Like, they didn't take you there. You didn't visit.
Nothing.
You didn't get a tour.
Nothing.
You just go to school.
Yeah, and Ellen was in about the 7th or 8th grade. She'd been a little older. She'd have quit. But, of course, she threw the biggest fit. But Dad,
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, man, she really threw the fit.
Wow.
But Dad just took her right back, you know.
Yeah.
But I was 16, so I could really go. I knew at 16 you could quit, you know.
Yeah.
And so he just go ahead and let me quit. But I liked school, and I didn't want to quit, but
Yeah, you were.
I didn't.
So I also am getting the little feeling that you had maybe a wee bit of a temper.
Yeah, I did. I got that from somebody. I don't know who. I was stubborn.
Yeah.
And when Richard was born, he was a stubborn kid, and I couldn't. I told Red, I can't figure out how to handle him, because I couldn't handle myself.
You two were alike, huh?
Yeah, I said, he was just like me,
He
and I
got
thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't teach him anything.
It's hard when God gives you a kid just like you, right?
Boy, and he was. I would worry myself sick with that kid. I never did worry with Harry or Richard like that, but boy, Rich just about drove me crazy. I worried all day long, and he'd run off, and he'd done this and that, and I thought, One time I gave him orders to put the screen door in or something on the door. I said, you better have that done before I get home tonight, or you better be gone. And then I got thinking, he might be gone.
Oh, no.
And boy, I never was so scared in my life. Because he'd put it off for 4 or 5 weeks. He was a put off. And I went home at night and the door was up and I thought, oh God, is he in that house or not?
Ooh.
But he
Oh my
was.
gosh, that's good. That's good. Well, one thing I think we should touch on, because I think it's an important part of your life, but it's not a great part of your life, is the whole Harry Dooley experience. So can you kind of give a nutshell of like, how old you were when you married him, how quickly you knew it was not going to be working out, and just some like the story about how he took you away and all that, and how you got away and all that.
He, well, he came to Palmer. His father was killed in a coal mine. I found out later he was shot in there. Somebody killed him,
Oh,
and his mother had died in childbirth when his younger
oh,
sister was born. So he come to Palmer and lived with his brother and went to school when I did there.
okay,
So I
okay.
met him there in
In
Palmer.
Palmer, okay.
And I didn't know his family at all. And Mom kept saying his father was real mean. She thinks that's why he got killed in a coal mine. But later on, I found out that they was trying to form a union in the coal mine, and he was one of
Oh,
them that was helping.
union
His sister
organizer.
told me later. She said
Okay.
they shot him down because he was trying to recognize, get
Oh,
a union
yeah.
started. See?
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay.
that's how he got out there. But then Harry came to Palmer and lived with his brother there, and I guess he was going to school there too. I can't remember him being in school, but I think he must have been.
Yeah,
And I started going with him.
yeah.
But Mom always said then, don't go with him because said he came from a big
Bad.
name. She said she knew his sister and she'd been to the house before.
Oh,
And she said his sister was treated terrible. His dad even made his sister do crazy things. And she said, I never had my dad to ever do stuff like that. Show him your underwear with you being in it,
oh
And
no.
Mom said, my
Inappropriate
God,
stuff.
I never
Yeah,
ever had
yeah,
to do anything like that,
yeah, yeah,
And she said, I knew then that he was no good,
yeah.
And
So you guys get married and you
yeah,
have,
well, it was a service time,
okay.
and we got married, and he went into service. Well, Ashley got pregnant with Harry, and he was overseas. When he come home, Harry was 3 months old, and I knew right then that this marriage wasn't going to work because he come in, took one look at him, and said, "Oh yeah," didn't pick him up, didn't do nothing. And he said, "Well, we lived in Decatur, and his family his sister's brothers lived in Taylorville, so he said, I'm going to Taylorville." So he took off. And it was about 50 miles difference in the town. He went up there and spent
Like more than a day? Like stayed there a long time?
yeah, he spent his whole leave up there. And I thought, one look at the baby, and that was all he did.
Oh boy,
So
oh
I thought,
boy.
oh, that was Harry. I thought,
Uh-oh, yeah,
So I thought, well, that's going to be the end of this deal.
yeah.
And then I got pregnant with Harry and with Richard at that time. I said, one leave home, and then I got pregnant.
Oh boy, lucky you.
So yeah, so we were married 5 years, but we probably lived together maybe a year, and then 5 years.
Which really is a blessing when you look back.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I knew right away we wasn't going to do it because
Yeah,
he didn't care for the kids at all.
yeah.
And I thought he's going to kill me and the kids. And he always said it. He said, "I'm going to kill you and these kids both."
He would say that?
Oh yeah, he told me a couple times he got the kids and he didn't get me. See, and he killed Mom and them. He said, "Well, I'll just kill the kids and then I'll come get her."
Oh my God.
And I'm thinking, "Oh my God."
So when did he first start beating on you?
Oh, right off the bat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I got the best licks on him though.
I know. I want you to tell those stories because I find that to be really interesting that you did not just take it, that your little fiery self fought back.
Yeah.
So tell about the wash my head story.
Well, I guess probably the first one he started. He said, "I want you to wash my head," and I said, "Wash your own head. I ain't gonna do it." And we had it was in the kitchen like this, and he got over. He said, "Now you come wash my head." And there was a milk bottle sitting there like that, and I just picked that milk bottle and busted it right over his head. He had to go to the doctor and get it stitched up.
But he took you with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you knew when you got home.
Yeah.
He was going to beat you.
I was going to get another beating.
Oh my gosh.
I did two things. I split his finger off one time. Had to go again. So
tell that story.
That was another time I got.
Because that's when he had kidnapped you basically and taken you somewhere to Missouri with his family, and Grandpa Curtis got wind. You had so he had come to your town and kidnapped you.
I was went to work in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it was closing time, and he was out in front. I didn't know it. So as I come out of the store, he grabbed me. Well, there was one of the kids. Now I knew everybody in town, but I've never been able to place that one boy. And I said, "Go down and tell Dad that he's got me." and he's not going to let me go. I said, go tell my dad, because I know Dad was going to worry I didn't get home and store him.
Right.
I can't think whose kid was, and I knew every kid, but who that kid was, I don't know.
He probably saved your life.
He lit off on the run to go tell. And then he took me down to New Madrid, Missouri, way down.
I knew. I was thinking Cape Girardeau in my mind.
Yeah,
okay,
New Madrid, down there. Some of these relatives lived back in the country, real poor people. And I thought,
and did he have the kids in the car too?
Yeah, he already had the kids,
because
God. Mom had the kids, see, and he'd come by and drive around the front yard.
Oh my God!
And he'd already had them for like 2 days. I couldn't get them, see. And then that's when I guess planned this up. Him and his sisters together.
They did.
Yeah, because they was one was driving the car taking us.
I thought one of them was your friend.
Well, one of them, Ruth, the youngest one, she wasn't her. This was the oldest sister.
Oh.
And I don't know if Harry just talked her into it or what, but she went along.
Okay.
And now Ruby was a sister-in-law. She lived in our same town, and Mom went up and talked to them. Because said, where did they take her to? And Ruby first wouldn't tell it. Mom kept going back and back. I got to know because I've got to find where she's at.
Yeah.
So Ruby finally met Mom someplace where her husband, his name was Charlie. He was the oldest Dooley boy.
Oh.
Man. He was a nice guy, but I don't know if he'd give in on his family, tell secret on them, you know. And she finally told Mom where it was at down there.
Okay, thank God.
So then Dad caught a bus and came down there. So I guess he was there about maybe 4 days or something like that. But I think it's about that now, because I thought, what do we have? We didn't have no clothes or nothing. We had
and was he beating you the whole time, or?
Well, he didn't beat me so much around them people, because he was right there, and I didn't know them either, and I couldn't care to know them, and I didn't pay no attention to them. They was poor. They lived like, I thought, what in God's name did he bring me out here in the country to somebody like this? And they had nothing. A bunch of kids. I don't know how many kids they had, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
And but one thing I can say that I thought, well, sooner or later, Dad will find me.
Yeah.
And while we were sleeping at night, he had a rifle standing in the corner of that bedroom. And I thought, all these kids running around here, and that gun is standing there in that corner. And I thought, if I got to have it, I got it right there.
Yeah.
So that was in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I was there, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 days. None of us had no clothes or nothing with us. You know? And I probably didn't say much because I was too scared to say anything.
Right.
And they know he had me in there against my will. And then Dad
knew that. That's interesting. They knew
that. Then Dad showed up. And
in a cab.
Yeah, he came out in a cab.
So poor cab driver's like, what's going on?
He didn't know what was going on. So Dad got out, and when I seen his dad, I said to the boys, get in the car.
Yeah.
And don't stay and go back with Grandpa, because he ain't going to let me go. So they crawled right in the cab.
Thank God.
So that's when I run back and grabbed the gun.
And then what'd you do? Oh my God!
I come out and I said, I'll kill you, you son of a bitch. I never did cuss, but I let him have it.
Yeah.
Boy, that taxi cab driver run around the house. I remember seeing him run. You know, and I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know if the gun had shells in or not, but it was standing in the corner.
Yeah.
And he grabbed one end of it and I the other. He broke that gun right in two.
Really? But then in the meantime, it like cut his thumb off.
Oh, yeah, I cut his thumb off because he was holding on to it and I was holding the other end because he was holding it away from his body. I was going to shoot him.
Gosh.
And I wondered
must have been loaded if he held it away from his body.
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't know if it was loaded and I didn't either. You know?
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know. I never did know whether it was loaded. I can't imagine that guy have a loading gun with kids in that house. But
so then what happened? Grandpa Curtis drives off?
Well, he gets the kids in the car. No, Harry grabs me, and then we're out in the country. So there was a big field, and he was just dragging me right through the field, out through this cornfield. And his thumb was laid off. So he knew he had to go to the doctor.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, anyway, I just told the kids to get in the car and go with Grandpa. So the taxi cab driver took them back to town, and Dad brought the kids on home. Now, when he got to St. Louis here, well, he lived in Illinois. I didn't know this till years later. When they got to St. Louis, well, he had a lot of brothers and sisters here.
Yeah.
So he called one of them, and they were, somehow, I don't know, he called them, and they got him. And Red was the one that drove him and the boys back on up to Palmer. See?
Oh, my gosh.
I didn't know this.
Okay, wait, so let's reframe that for anybody who doesn't put that together. So Grandpa Curtis brings the boys back to St. Louis. Yeah. Your future husband drives them back to Palmer.
Yeah, I didn't know that he'd done this.
That's wild.
And he was a friend of Dad's sister and him.
Okay.
And when Dad got his sister, well, then Red didn't have a car, but Peg and Doss did, so Red wasn't working, so told us to take my car and take them home.
Oh my gosh.
So he took them all up there,
Okay.
with
Then
that.
how did they save you?
Huh?
How did they ultimately save you?
Well, that time he.
Oh wait, so you went to the hospital. Sorry, I'm getting ahead. So you go to the hospital with a thumb hanging off.
So anyway, if I tell him I live with him, he usually come back home. So I kept saying, well, if you just take me back home, I'll live with you. I'll go ahead and make it good. I'll live with you. So I don't know how we ever got back to. I cannot figure out how we got back up there at Taylorville or not.
Wow.
How we done it. I thought that. I think of that a lot. What happened from there on?
Yeah.
I totally forgot what to do.
Okay, so then tell the story about how in Palmer you chronically called the police on him.
Oh well, we lived in Taylorville. At that
Taylorville,
time.
right.
And he originally all his family lived in Taylorville, so they was well known.
Okay.
So every time I'd call the police would just come out and wouldn't do nothing.
Or they would take him up the block and let him loose.
Take him up the block and turn him loose, and he'd come right back.
Yeah.
And so this one time when he'd done that, this policeman said, "If you call me one more time, I'm going to take your kids away from you."
Oh boy.
And I said, "Well, these kids, I've taken care of these kids." And I said, "What should I do?" He said, "Get the hell out of the state of Illinois." So when Dad got me that night, he said, "Well, what did the police tell you?" And he said, "Get the hell out of Illinois."
Okay, so they said, "Get the hell out of Illinois." You got on a bus. You went to Litchfield.
Yeah,
I
told Dad. I said, "What do we do?" I said, "He wants me to." I said, "That's what the police said. Get the hell out of Illinois."
Yeah.
And Dad said, "Oh, that's good." He said, "We'll go." And because Dad had a lot of brothers and sisters down here.
Yeah.
So he drove that. I don't know if it was that night or probably was that night. We went down to Litchfield, which was about. We didn't catch it in Palmer. Then we went
because you didn't want anyone to know where you went.
Yeah.
Right.
So I went on down then, and I come to St. Louis here. Dad had 4 or 5 brothers and sisters, so I just stayed at one house. Flossie was ready to have a baby, so I stayed there for about a week to take care of her other kids while she went to the hospital. Then I moved to another sister and a brother.
Wow.
I just moved around all the time because I didn't know if he was going to find out or not. So.
Right.
And Ellen Eunice was still kind of young, and I said, "Boy, don't you dare ever tell it."
Right.
I was afraid Ellen would board it out sometimes. She said, "I never said a soul."
Yeah. And so the young people in the family understand where this was all happening. You lived basically in what's called the Grove now. So it was off of Shodo. You were at different houses around Shodo, right? Is that right at this point?
I think, well, they lived at different places. I don't.
Well, remember when you went and worked at Sterilite, you lived somewhere right there off of Manchester or Shodo,
that's
right?
where Dad bought that flat there.
Oh, so how old were you then? Like, what was that?
Oh, well, that was quite a while later because Dad moved down. Yeah.
Okay, so how many years later did they move down to follow you?
Well, I guess it was probably about 3 years before they moved down. Dad decided he'd sell. He had a garage and he had to sell a house and a garage. So then he bought the flat down here in St. Louis, 4-family flat. At that time, it was right after the war. So Flossie, that was Dad's sister, her husband was a soldier, so he gave her one part of the building, and Mom and Dad took the other, and then I had one, and Eunice and Ellen had the upstairs.
Oh, good.
So took the whole flat.
That was a good situation. Yeah. Okay.
Worked out that way pretty good.
So during that 3 years, is that when you met Grandpa Rentfro or not?
Yeah, because Red.
Yeah.
Red was a friend of Peggy's. Peg was Dad's sister.
Yeah.
So he was hauled in on it. He didn't know he was doing all this. But he took Dad and the boys the first time when Dad got him down there.
Yeah.
He drove them to Illinois.
That's
and
crazy.
then he'd come back because Dawson Peggy was Dad's sister. And he hung out with them all the time.
Okay.
So he said, Dawson, "Well, you're not single. Just take them up there." So he drove up there. He worked for the city, so he could get off anytime he wanted to.
Okay.
And he drove. I didn't even know that till later on because he said, "Well, I already know your kids." I said, "How did you meet my kids?"
That's
because I hadn't mentioned the kids yet when I was meeting him,
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I took them home." And I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "You know my mom and daddy?" "Yeah, I know your mom and dad too."
That is funny.
So
that is really funny.
But he didn't think too much of me. He said, "You was skinny, you was bull-legged, you was the ugliest looking thing I ever seen."
No, he said that? Get out of here. Well, you say he was always really finely dressed, right? He always dressed up?
Yeah, well, I had to tell you how I met him, really.
Okay, yeah.
Because I hadn't even talked to him or nothing then, but Peg was a cook in a restaurant, and right next door was a tavern, and her husband was a bartender in a tavern.
Okay.
Now there was an opening between the two; you could go back and forth in there.
Okay.
So he lived across the street, so he'd come over there and ate all these meals there because he roomed over there.
Okay.
And I guess he'd go in here. He liked to play cards, so he went over there and sat in one of them booths, and they paid him for playing cards. Every time he deal a load of cards, he got a nickel out of every deal.
Okay.
And then that was just something extra he was getting.
Yeah.
And he was a good friend of Peg and Doss. And so and he said, I didn't even have to give a car because I could drive his car all the time. So he didn't even have a car.
Nice.
And he lived right across the street there. So that was another friend he lived with. Although he said, I paid board and everything there.
Okay.
And he said, I helped the lady out a lot. But he said, I lived there for years. Yeah.
Wow.
So the first time I met him, Peg said, I came to St. Louis. So she said, come up to the restaurant tonight. We're going on to, Doss is going to bowl. The bunch of men's going to bowl, and we'll go watch them. I said, okay. So I go up there.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't interested in no man because I was trying to get rid of the one I had.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, I'll go along, you know. And so we go, but when I went in the restaurant, Red he'd already been in. He come in, and they have a counter there with stools on it. So he was sitting, the first one was empty, and he was sitting on the second one. So I come in, and I'm kind of skilled little country kid. I never had been in a restaurant over too much what to do. So I just walked in and sat right down beside him. And when I did, he picked up these coffee cups to drink it, and I hit his arm somehow. Both of us left-handed.
Oh,
and
I
I poured
didn't know
that
that.
coffee right down the front of him. And boy, he jumped up, and he was going to raise hell with me. And Peg said, wait a minute, Red, wait. That's my niece.
Oh, no.
And he shut his mouth right quick. And so he had to go home and change clothes.
Oh, my gosh.
And luckily, he lived across the street.
Yeah.
And I felt about this big. I thought, oh, my God. And Peg was laughing. She thought that was really funny. But I thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
And going up the bowling alley, we got up there. She said, I was going to introduce you to him. I thought maybe you could go with him. And she said, no.
Not now. First impressions.
I said,
yikes.
no.
Oh.
I said, don't mention him because I didn't like him either.
Yeah, because he was mad. Oh, my
Yeah, because
gosh.
he had to go home and change clothes. I just poured that whole cup of coffee right down the front.
No.
He told a lot of people that after we got married, he said, boy, she initiated me real good.
Initiated me. I like the way you said that.
Yeah, he told
Oh, that's good.
She really initiated me before I ever met her.
Oh, funny. So then, like where were you working at that time?
I don't know if I was working. I was probably working at different jobs. I was trying to get a permanent job, but
Yeah.
I worked in the independent packing house first. Well, I didn't know they worked you just seasonal.
Yeah.
Then I went to Prestite. I spent most of the time at Prestite. It was a manufacturing company.
So I think everyone should know this, that even though we think of you always as beautician, you did that when you were young for the people of Palmer.
Yeah.
But you didn't get back into it until you were how old?
Oh, yeah. I
20...
was already married.
Yeah.
When I had art.
Okay, art.
Yeah.
Okay, that puts it into perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 things about your jobs that I think are very interesting. The meat packing plant.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you worked at Sterilite. They messed around, did something.
Yeah.
You left there. You went to the meat packing and went back to Sterilite,
Back and
right?
forth with them too, because they was across the street from one another.
Yeah. And for reference, they were under the viaduct of Shodo and Van de Venter, right there. So right at where the White Castles is right now.
Yeah, I think so. It's right there.
Yeah.
I've been over there for years, so I don't
Yeah.
know, but I think it is.
And I think it's worth telling your story about the meat packing plant. That was mind-blowing to me about what that guy did.
Well, that was my first job that I've ever worked in a factory or a plant or anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't have no idea.
How things work.
No, and I didn't like me in no way because I was already had one
Right.
trouble with.
Right.
So went to work in there.
Well, tell the left-handed story and tell the guy's story.
When
Yeah.
they hired us, they didn't ask if you're left-handed or not, and I was left-handed, see, and I never thought of it. And I hadn't worked in no factory or nothing.
Yeah.
So they put us around the table to work, and there's like 6 women or 8 women, something like that, around this table. And then we'd come down on a shooter, and then you had 4 or 5 knives that's just like razor blades. You just reset that meat, it'd go right through I never seen a knife so sharp in my life.
Scary.
It is. It went through the bone and everything, and you didn't have to put no pressure with it. I thought, boy, everybody got about 4 knives like that. We had a guy that was sharpening them constantly.
Oh my gosh.
And so when they put me on this table.
And you wore a chain.
Yeah, we put a chain on one hand and use that knife like this. So if you cut your face, you wouldn't
hit
cut
the
through your
chain.
hand.
Okay, yeah.
So when I got mine, I thought, oh, I'm left-handed. And they didn't ask that question on here. And I need this job. So I looked at that thing, and I could turn it wrong side out. It was a chain.
Okay.
And
so
I could put it on. I thought, oh, well, I can get that now if I go on this table. Now, if I can get on this corner, I cut this way, see? And they were all cutting this way, so I could easily hit them that way. So the girl that was standing in line, I said, I want that corner right there. Because I said, I need to get on the corner. And so she said, well, okay. So we got in there. I was a little scared of her because she was a black girl. I hadn't been around black people.
First
and
time.
I was a little scared, but I kind of whispered to her, and she said, okay. I said, I'll give you the corner. And she said, you don't have to be scared of me. She said, what's that woman over there? It was the one to be scared of.
Oh.
But she sensed that I was scared, but I'd never worked with black people.
Oh, okay.
And I told her, I said, I don't know. I said, I had never worked a factory work either.
Yeah,
so all this was really new.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh my God. But it did work out good because she was right there and I got
she
that
became
spot.
a helper, like she was helping you.
Because the boss come around and looked at me and boy jerked me off there and he said, what are you doing like that? And I said, well, I'm left-handed. And he said, didn't ask that question. I said, no, it wasn't on the thing. And boy, he yelled out real loud, put her on that counter. We'll not hire no left-handed people.
But they didn't fire you.
No,
they kept
because
you.
See, I had to go to the hospital, the doctor. I had the physical they gave you.
Wow.
I mean, they paid a fortune to get the physical out because they checked everything.
Wow.
I thought, man, I even had to go to the hospital and have stuff done there.
Wow. Yeah. So it was too expensive for them to fire you.
Yeah.
He just said no more lefties.
Yeah, it took me about a week to go all through all that examination and everything. I thought I never had, but I thought every place would have done that. I didn't know that it was my first job.
Right. Right. So how long do you think you worked there?
Well, they work seasonal work.
Okay.
I didn't know that, so I must have went in and I worked like October, November, December.
Okay.
And then January I got laid off, see.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I didn't know what this was, but then I began to think, well, it started. I should have known that. No meat eater, see.
Yeah.
And then, then I went across the street, and that press site was where I worked at. I went over there and got a job.
And they make caulk. Like caulk,
they made caulking
with silicone in it.
Yeah, tuck-pointed houses. They made a toothing thing. They made a lot of plastic stuff. Then they made a thing went around your refrigerator.
Yeah.
And so it was a good plant to work in. But then wasn't no time. I got called back over there, but the meat plant paid a lot more money. Mm-hmm. So I said to the guy there while I was working in Preston, I said, if I go back over there and they lay me off again, would you take me back? And he said, yeah.
He said, okay,
and
I'm gone.
Sure enough, I went over. I still hadn't dawned on me that I was working just through the lid time.
Oh, yeah.
And the time that they're going to eat meat.
Yeah.
I got laid off the second time. I said, I ain't going back there no more.
Yeah.
I'll stay over here.
Yeah.
So I stayed at Preston. I worked at Preston 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
So real quick, go back to the meat plant and tell the story about the jerk guy that weighed the meat. So you got paid on how much meat.
Yeah, how much? Yeah, the weight of it. How much you turned in. This big old guy was over there where you weighed it, and he said, well, most of the time they weighed 100 pounds or something, because we had big things there. And he said, I give you 30 pounds. And I said, hey, that's 100 pounds. And he said, well, if you go out with me, I'll give it to you. If you don't, you don't get it. And I said, I ain't going out with you. And he said, 30 pounds. I thought, well, as soon as that goes in, and I get 3 of them, I'm done for. So I went home that night. I said, well, I know I'm going to get fired quick as I go in the morning. So
so you just didn't go back?
Well, I went in, got fired.
But you noticed that the one gal that the lady told you to watch out for, she was messing around with him.
Yeah.
They were like in cahoots, right?
They were in cahoots because when the meat come down on the big chute, there's 6 or 8 around the table, and my place had all the laid meat. That's what they weighed, so the fat didn't count. Oh. And I thought, how come I got all this and nobody else did? Always before, it all come right in the center, and you just reach over and get the meat, and you'd cut the lean and the fat. You separated them so you had fat and lean. And we made pork. They made pork sausage out of this.
Okay.
And there was meat that you was cutting around on.
Okay.
And I thought, how come they put all this right in front of me and nobody else got it? That meant I was going to get a much higher point that day than anybody else was. See,
so he was setting you up?
Yeah, so he was getting me all set up. See,
he was buttering you up.
If she was helping him because I was young and he.
And so she wasn't cutting much, but he was probably giving her 100.
Yeah, all mine went to her, see, because she was telling him which girl might go out with. See.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
scared of her. And I didn't, at first I wasn't, but the girl next to me that was black, I was kind of scared, really scared of her.
Right, right.
She said, don't be scared of me, be scared of her. I guess he'd already done her, and she was
Yeah.
already collecting everybody else, and she hadn't collected for me yet because I was new.
So what year do you think this is?
That was in, I
Because you
remember
had
when,
kids already.
yeah, I was 47.
47.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the record,
47
I
or
would like
50,
to say that this is
57.
sexual harassment in 1947 in the workplace.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag Me
Yeah.
Too movement.
Yeah.
Huh.
A couple of times I got to know it like that. I thought,
Wow.
oh, God.
Wow.
I might have got taken if I hadn't already been through all the trouble I was already in.
Right, right. You thought you were a dumb farm girl, but you were really wise because you had been through so much crap before that
Yeah,
you knew a lot that
I
other
knew that
people
line,
didn't.
that
Yeah,
line.
yeah. You're like, I know your type. I know
Yeah,
your type. Been there. Not gonna go there
yeah,
again. And
yeah.
the one side note I like to make about Prestite is, um, you worked there 10 years and you could have stayed there longer, but you chose to go into the beauty
Yeah,
field,
well, I
right?
had Art saying,
Okay,
then when
yeah,
after Art was born, I still had to go back to work
yeah,
because I
yeah,
kept my title
yeah,
and everything. And then but I wanted to be a
yeah,
beautician.
yeah,
And I kept saying, Red said, no, right now's the time for you want to be a beautician.
yeah.
Mom and Dad lived upstairs over us, so she said she'll keep the baby if you want to go. And
Nice,
there happened to be a beauty school within my walking distance, and I thought,
nice.
oh God, if I can go, I'm going up there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I went up and asked, and she said, and she told me, I said, I ain't got much money. If you can pay $5 a week,
Gosh,
she
so
said,
good.
well, I'll take you in. Normally they pay ahead, but she said, I'll give it to you at $5. I said, I'll get $5.
That's
Well, I didn't know how I was going to get it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what I think is worth noting is I think going into the beauty school saved your life because you went back and commented that almost everyone from Sterilite died of cancer
Yeah,
that you knew
yeah.
because
And
it was
that wasn't, I was
silicone.
working in,
Silicone was just floating in the
yeah,
air. They would make
yeah,
you leave the building
that's
when
right.
they dumped it in, but when you'd come back in, it was still floating all in the air.
And it probably would have killed me in there because
Yeah, yeah,
most people in there did die from that. See,
yeah.
and well, Red was beginning to catch on because he said, "What kind of powders that they're dumping in them things?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I'll find out, you know."
Yeah,
And I'd go over there and ask the guy. He'd make us go out while he dumped them in, and I thought
right.
that's odd that we had to go out of the building because the building was
That
full
guy
of
probably
dust.
died really young.
Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. There was 4 brothers, never one of them died.
Oh my
And one of the
gosh.
girls, she came to work with me. That's why I know that them 4 boys died.
My
And
gosh.
then
Wow.
they were all from Cape down around the Cape. So
Yeah.
when she went back, I don't know if she ever lived or not on there.
Well, so tell us about, okay, so you went through beauty school, and this is also a really cool story. Grandpa Renfro was budgeting like your family budget, and he said, we can cut back on something in order to pay for your beauty school, right? What did he cut back on? I forget.
Well, how we did that. She told me up there, I said, I haven't got much money to come, but it was close to the house. And I thought, well, I can walk this mile. I know it was a mile
Yeah.
that I was walking. I thought, I can save money. I can walk back and forth. Only cost a nickel to ride the bus, but that would have been a nickel every day, I can say.
Right.
And it took 8 months, 6 days a week
Oh my
to go to school.
gosh, wow.
So that went on Saturday
It's a
too. See, all
long
6 days.
time.
It was 8 months you could get your license, you know.
Wow.
And so that 8 months I walked back and forth. Now some nights we finally got a car. Red finally could pick me up a few nights, but
Yeah.
a few nights he didn't. I just had to walk home, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then one time, after I got the beauty shop, it was the beauty salon. School wasn't too far from where I got the shop. But I had drove a car and I forgot it. I was driving a car and I walked home.
Oh no, you were so used to it.
I
That's
got
so
home and I
funny.
said,
That's so funny.
where's the car at, Red? He said, well,
Well, you
had
drove
I
it.
said,
Oh, I left it
there
in
on
the shop.
lot.
Well, I think you should talk about that because that amazes me that you started a beauty shop you bought a beauty shop in Maplewood.
Yeah.
I want you to tell the story about how you bought it, and also like before you say that, I want you to reflect on. You say that you're a dumb country girl, but you're an entrepreneur. You're a business owner. You are brave and courageous enough to open your own salon.
Because I wanted to be a beautician all my life. I was going to get that beauty shop one way or the other.
But you never thought about working for someone else. You were like, I'm
No,
going to be a
I
beauty.
didn't even think about that. And
I'll be
when
darned.
I and Red got married, I said, I'm going to be a beautician and somehow I'm going to have a beauty shop. And I
Wow.
just had that in my mind as a kid. I was going to do that. Dad was
Okay.
going to
So,
build me a beauty shop right there in Palmer. And
ah,
I thought later, well, I couldn't have had it because I could get all these people
free.
free.
They wouldn't pay me now. Yeah, right. They paid
I
it for
said, I
free.
forgot St. Louis, and that's when I got it.
That's so good.
So,
So, okay, so a lifelong dream that came
yeah.
true.
So, well,
And
anyway, I finished telling you that. So when I went to work, I thought, well, I need to work someplace first as a beautician to know how to run a shop.
oh yeah, yeah,
So I
right.
got
Okay.
hired right close to the house there. That lady had, in fact, she lived within a block of me, and I went to work for her. And wasn't no time. And the girl I was working, her name was Pat, and so Pat said, and I told Pat, I said, I'm going to buy a beauty shop as soon as I learn how to
Yeah.
figure out how to do out this. And so she said, okay. And I said, if I get one, you work for me? She said, yeah. She said, I've been a beautician for 20 years or more. She was much older than I was.
Okay,
She said,
okay.
I'll go with you and work for you. And I said, already got a worker, but didn't have a shop.
I love it.
So I thought, well, I
Recruiting.
got to get a little bit of understanding of how a beauty shop works. So she worked on a basis of just walking in.
Okay.
And when they'd walk in, she'd wash her head so they couldn't leave. So they'd be sitting in a row. So the operators had to take whoever
Oh.
got. So that was her way of holding them there.
Oh,
Say,
interesting.
come on
Okay.
in, I'll get your head washed and you'll be set in a minute. She had about 8 or 9 operators
Wow.
and never knew their names, nothing, but never took them on appointment. So I was
Oh.
going to run a different shop. I wanted to have one that I run on appointments, and I didn't like the price. Everybody got a permit even for $3. I thought, I ain't giving no permit for $3. So I set my price starting off at $5. And I don't know what, must have charged about $4 for shampoo or something.
Yeah.
But I raised mine higher than anybody in Maplewood had it. And it went up on the corner from where I got it, mine. They was a pretty big shop, and it was really, everything was $3. And I thought, I'm not having nothing $3. It's going to be more than that. So I have set up I'm going to run it on appointments.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have, and so when Pat came over, I said, do you ever work on that? I'd ask her while we was working.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, I've been a beautician about 20 years. So she said,
She had worked on appointments before?
Yeah, and she
okay.
said,
Okay.
so then she told me, she said, this shop's for sale. I said, she said, it's going on sale. I know the girl, I worked there for a long time. She said, I quit her because she's a drunk.
Oh.
She was drunk, and half the time she wouldn't open. And she wouldn't give me a key. I couldn't do my customers.
Oh my gosh.
So she said, I moved over here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, well, if I get that, and it was close to where I lived, I thought, oh boy, this would be just ideal.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I went to Red, hey, I can buy this beauty shop. And I think I can get it pretty cheap because
she's a drunk.
And she never opened half the time.
Oh my
gosh. I did. I got it
yeah.
real cheap. But I had to add a lot of stuff because she didn't have, I think she had one shampoo bowl, and I put in another bowl and 2 or 3 more chairs and everything in there.
Yeah, yeah.
And but I Pat went over there. I started right off on appointments. And I said, have you ever worked on appointments? A little bit, but some of the women that come in, I told them, I said, I'm new at this, and I don't know the first thing. But I had some of the nicest people come in. They said, we'll pick up your bookwork for you. Now, this is where you keep books. One lady fixed me all up with that. And one lady, she said, now I'll get you a tax guy to take care of your taxes. And she told me, all my customers was teaching me how to be
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't have done a better job.
Awesome.
Yeah, every one of them. She said, I'll send an auditor or not, but the one that takes care of your account and everything.
Oh, your accountant or CPA or whatever?
Yeah, CPA. He came in and he said, I'll help you get it all lined up. I said, boy, I'm glad I got all you people to help me because I don't know the first
Oh my
thing.
gosh, that's so good. That's so good.
But I thought it really, really meant, after all the years now, I think about God really knew what he was doing to work with me to get me right where I wanted to do.
Right there. It kind of was a bumpy road to get there, but you got there.
Yeah, but I didn't realize at the time because even buying a house, we bought a house and a beauty shop at the same time and sold both of them at the same time. Now, who could do that? I couldn't get this beauty shop away.
Now you're jumping ahead, so hold on a second. But what made you want to say $5 for a perm? I'm not going to go $3. Like, that's pretty risky. Like, what made you say that?
I guess I was too dumb to know about the risk.
But did you think, like, really didn't think like, oh, $5 will give the impression that I'm a higher end salon?
Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a little higher end shop because they all just walk in, and I said, I'm taking mine by appointment.
Yeah.
You know, I had a little time hard figuring the appointment time out.
Yeah.
How long to give a permit and how long to give a shampoo.
Right.
But I kind of wanted that, and I wanted to work on a regular appointment base, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I decided to do. With Pat there, she'd worked both ways. So she knew pretty much how to get it lined up.
That's good.
And that helped out a lot on there.
Okay, so I want you to tell the story about how you sold everything at the same time, but there's something that happened in the middle of this time that I think is important. So, well, we're way past it already, but can you go back and say how you ended up getting divorced from Harry?
How I got divorced?
Yeah, like because you were like on the run from him for
Yeah.
forever, for a long time, and then you were always afraid he was going to find you, and one
Yeah.
day he found you.
Yeah, I made one mistake there. I wrote a letter. Ellen or somebody told me that he went in, enlisted in the service. He served time during the war in the Navy. He went in the Navy first when I was married to him. Then he was in an army suit, and Ellen seen him in his army suit.
Oh.
So Ellen said to him, "Oh, you're in the army." And he said, "I guess you want to tell Liz," because he didn't know where I was at. And she said, "Well, I don't know where she's at." And so he did say, he told her where he was stationed at. I don't know, down North Carolina or someplace in that area. And that's about all she knew. She got a name of about 3 different bases where she thought.
Okay.
I wrote a letter. That was my big mistake. I wrote a letter to all 3 of them, and I think I sent a picture of him. And I said, if he's in here, he's a married man, and I know I can draw the allotment, and I had 2 children.
Yeah, which an allotment, it means like support. He could pay
he had
support.
to pay for me.
Yeah,
Gave me so much
Right,
money every
right,
month for me
right.
and the
And
2
the kids.
kids.
Right.
So I thought, I'm not getting anything. And this
Right.
way, he's got to spend at least 3 to 4 years there.
Oh, I didn't realize that. You were trying to kind of.
Yeah,
Okay,
I knew that if you
okay.
enlist, I think you had to enlist for 4.
So you knew at
Or
least
if
I'd get a
if
couple
you're-
years of
Yeah,
of
one way or the
support.
other, it's 3 or 4.
Okay.
And I know they notified you when the time was up.
Okay, okay.
So I thought, well, that was okay. So I got that figured out pretty good. So then I didn't know where he was at. And Ellen said, well, I think she said someplace around Mississippi or someplace down that way.
Okay, yeah.
And I wrote a letter to about 3 different camps down there. And I sent a picture of him. And I said, he's a married man. And he's got 2 kids. I should be getting an allotment. And I put my address on the envelope. And he was stationed at one of them bases. And they handed him that envelope, exactly what he wanted. My address and everything on it, see. And because they never did ever answer my letter or nothing.
Oh, you never got allotment from that?
Oh, yeah, I got allotment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but they never answered.
They didn't answer my
They just
letter.
handed it over.
But the next thing I knew, Mom woke me up one morning. I work nights, so she woke me up one morning. She said, your old man is here. And I thought, who's she calling old man?
Yeah.
And I said, who? And she said, you don't want to know. And I knew right then who it was. And I got up and I thought, well,
Were you
he
scared?
was there. Yeah,
Were you
he was
scared?
there.
What'd you feel like? Were you just totally freaking out?
Scared to death.
Yeah.
That was Harry's birthday. He was 5 years old that day.
Oh, man.
And anyway, he come in the house, and he was sitting there when I got up, and I slept upstairs, and so I had to come down.
Yeah.
And anyway.
That's all right. We'll keep going.
So anyway, he said, well, he said, I know you want a divorce. I said, yep. I said, we're going to go right across the street. There's a lawyer that I talked to. I'll get a divorce there. And, well, maybe I'll give it to him. So I told Dad, I said, Dad, watch out the window. He can look like this right to that door.
Yeah.
I said, if I don't go in that door, you call the police. And I said, Harry, you're not in Taylorville now. You're in St. Louis. And you ain't got no choice what these police is going to do. And so we went over there, and he
So
stopped
brave
there.
of you. So brave
Yeah,
of you.
yeah, he stood there and he said, well, I'm not kidding. Let's go down the street and see a lawyer. I said, oh, no, we're not. We're going in this lawyer because I'd already talked to him.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I ain't going to go in there. So I said, okay. And I turned around and come back. Dad watched, and I never did see him.
So you didn't get a divorce that day?
I didn't get a divorce for another 4 or 5 years.
And how did that pan out?
Well, after I come back home, he didn't get it. He went on down the street. That's the last I ever seen of him.
Wow.
I never got divorced. But then when I guess he was stationed in California, and he started writing me, I'll give you a divorce any way I get the divorce. I thought, he's got somebody pregnant and he's in service. And I said, I ain't giving you no divorce. I didn't need no divorce. He was in the Navy, and I didn't care. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I let it go for 4 or 5 months. So the day that I was getting my divorce, I was down at the lawyer's office down Sydney here someplace. He knocked on Mom's door. And he said, did Liz ever get a divorce? And she said, yes. And he said, well, I got my wife out here in the car. He said, we drove from California. And Mom said, that's all I said to him. Just yes. I didn't tell him you was down at the courthouse. I don't know if he got it or not.
Oh my gosh! So he got married before he was divorced.
I told him I didn't. He was
Oh,
already dead, but when I met his wife,
yeah.
and I told her, I said, you married him before. It wasn't his wife, it was his kids.
Oh
He
yeah,
had
yeah,
two
yeah,
boys.
yeah.
And I told the boys, I said, your mother and him got married before I was divorced. Because I said, I hadn't got that divorce.
Wow, wow.
He said, I got to check into that when I get home. So I don't know if he ever did or not. So
Well, I don't want to stay on this subject too long, but I do think it's kind of like I remember being kind of shocked by a couple of things. One, learning that he continued to beat his other children. Like it was
yep,
just
he
a
had
long life
two
of
other boys
abuse,
that
and
I
his
met.
wife and things like that.
Yeah, they
And
both said he was mean to them.
and um, answer this question. I asked this question to you a long time ago, and I was shocked by your answer. When did you stop being afraid of him?
After he died. I was scared to death every time I opened the door to walk out that he wasn't going to be standing there.
That's a
Oh,
long time because he
oh,
died when my dad was in his what, 50s?
you know, he was married.
Yeah, he and
Because
Terry,
Terry
yeah,
was one that was telling me.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So that was a long time to be
yeah.
afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
He was out there. He lived out in California, but I
yeah,
never knew when I opened the door he wasn't going to be standing there. See,
yeah.
I
That's
thought,
really
oh,
that's really important, I think, for us all to understand. Because you also talked about like when you lived down on Shodo or Manchester down there, you would open when you had to run because you had to work really early in the morning
I
and it
had to
was
be
dark.
working. It
And
was
you would
pitch
open the
dark.
door and you would look
4:30,
out,
I had to
make
be
sure
at
he
work.
wasn't there because the houses were so close
Yeah, they
together.
were real. We lived behind. I lived with my aunt and uncle, and they lived behind a barber shop. Barber shop. They rented them the rooms because that was after the war,
Yeah,
and they had no place to stay.
yeah,
So my aunt and uncle lived there in these two rooms behind the barber shop. It was fastened to the barber shop
yeah.
because we had two rooms and a toilet, no bath, no nothing, just a toilet.
Gosh.
I often wondered what them barber people did for a toilet.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
I
gosh.
guess they went next door to their restroom or something.
So you
But
would come out of there.
I come out there and run all the way to work. I worked at that packing house at
Yeah,
that time.
yeah.
And boy, I let out and run, and I never looked no way.
Oh my
I scared
gosh.
to death.
That's so interesting. So for the timeline, you were scared even when you were remarried. You were
Oh,
scared.
I was scared. I was scared up till the day that Terry come and
Yeah,
said, "You got something to tell your mom?"
yeah,
And Harry said, "No." And she said, "You tell her I do." So Harry said, "He died." I said, "Thank God." I said, "He might have been your dad, but you didn't know him.
yeah,
I'm glad he's
yeah,
dead."
yeah,
So,
yeah. Wow, that's really interesting.
but that was about 10 years later, and I thought, "Phew, that's a long
Yeah,
time."
I think it was longer than that
Might have been. I
later.
don't know how
Yeah,
long.
yeah. We'll have to look into that, but I think it was a long time later. Okay, so let's see. Well, here let's switch to some kind of funny stories that just little stories that people asked about. Laurie is curious about. Let's see, where was this? Did you? Oh wait, where did I put that? Hold on. I gotta put my glasses back on. She said, "Did you like it when Laurie helped you pick peas in the garden?"
Oh, yeah. Laurie liked it better. She loved to eat all them peas.
She probably knew that's exactly what you were going to say. Did you get any peas when Laurie helped you
Well,
pick
I don't
peas?
know. I went in and called Mom. Mom didn't live close in. And I said, "Mom, is these peas going to hurt that kid?" I said, "She's eating them by the bucketful. I couldn't even get any to freeze."
That's hysterical.
I
didn't know
wondered
that.
last night. I was dreaming about her, and I thought, and then peas like that. And I thought, I wonder if she still likes peas.
I think she does. Laurie, do you still like peas?
But all you kids sit around, and none one of us would eat a pea. And she wouldn't let them alone. She ate everyone.
That is so funny. So funny. We'll have to have her comment if she still loves them that much. And what about, so the really young people or like Alex, the people that are new to the family, Alex DeFrida, tell them about how you were known as the tomato lady in Chesterfield. Well, let me set it up first of all, because they don't know that house. So you had a long house. Okay, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first tell the story about the beauty shop, how you sold everything and bought that house.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll come back to talking about selling
Yeah.
your garden there and everything. So,
Yeah, where we lived, I was still working as a beautician, and we wanted to get a different house, and we went past this house all the time to Eunice's, and it was a really nice,
because Eunice lived in O'Fallon, right
Yeah.
across the street from Rich and Marcia,
yeah,
and
we were in Chesterfield.
well, you weren't in Chesterfield yet. You were down still
Yeah,
on Forest,
yeah,
down
on 40 at Forest there.
which
Yeah.
is kind of, for people that don't know, kind of like at McCausland
Yeah, I'd say
and
about that.
40-ish,
I'm
roughly.
still in the city of St.
Yeah,
Louis.
yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
out of the city. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I was a couple of 2 or 3 blocks from Kings Highway.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we'd always come out Highway 40 to go out to see Eunice and Bob. They lived out here in O'Fallon.
And there wasn't a whole lot out here.
No, just
no mall.
one little subdivision.
No, yeah.
No restaurant, no stores, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just was a little small subdivision. The houses was very cheap. Eunice and Bob bought one, and Richard
Richard
Marshall
Marshall,
bought one
yeah.
across the street.
Yeah, yeah.
So and that was Richard's first house. So at 19, he couldn't get it until he turned 19.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
they-
pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, because they was wanting to get in there, but because she's going to have
Todd,
had
yeah,
Todd.
yeah, yeah.
And he turned 19, they gave him the house.
Oh
so.
my gosh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was good. They lived across the street from him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that was fun as a kid, going out there, that they lived
Yeah,
across the street from each other.
Yeah, that's one reason Richard bought that house, because it was right there. And I thought, well, if anything else could always help him, you know.
Yeah. Well, so tell about the house. So you saw this house that was for sale.
Oh, yeah, and that was a house, and really a nice house. It's set up on a hill, had a great big lawn. It was a big, long house. And
Big, long brick ranch.
Yeah, 4-bedroom house.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was really a nice house. And I always liked it, and Red did too. And one day he stopped me, he said, write that number down. And because it had been for sale for probably a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
So we go back home, and I don't know, I wrote it down, but probably another 3 or 4 months went by. I never called her nothing. He said, one night he come home, he said, did you ever call about that house? And I said, nah. I said, we couldn't have that house rent. I said, it's set out there with all that ground. I said, there's probably 3 acres of ground or more there. You know? And call it.
For the record, that's 3 acres of property in Chesterfield.
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah.
It wasn't then. It was just nothing.
Yeah.
And so that was really something to get on that. So I got up there and I called, and this guy that had it, he said to me, oh my God, I'm glad somebody's wanting this house. He said, I'm just a friend of hers. She lives in Florida. And he said, I want to get rid of this house the best any way I can get it. And I thought, that sounds good. So
Thank you for the tip.
I said to Red, I said, when we go look at it, let me give him an offer. And I told him what I was going to offer. To this day, I don't know what we gave him.
Yeah.
But I said, I give him, he said, he won't take that. I said, let me try. We can go on. So first thing I said, I'll offer, well, we like this house pretty good. It was kind of a dirty house, but it was a big house and a lot of ground. So,
Yeah.
And I said, so I offered it. He said, she'll take it. And Red said, I could have passed out right there. I can't believe she took it. She lived in Florida, but he already made up his mind. He was going to get rid of that house, and I kind of knew that. And I thought, I figured that he wants to get rid of this. He's going to make her take it.
Right. Well, then she came up later, and she said, I would have sold it to you for less if I knew the curtains weren't gone and all this stuff.
Yes, she told me, I'd give it to you a lot cheaper. And I thought, I thought I got a bargain.
Right.
We did get a bargain.
And so people that might not know, so this was a big, beautiful brick ranch house that's set right on South Outer 40 Road, which is just east of where Chesterfield Mall is now. So like when we were kids, Todd and Lisa and Laurie and I would walk over to the mall. Like we could cross Clarkson, no problem.
It was just new at that time.
It was walkable. No high traffic or anything.
And it was a 2-lane highway.
Yeah.
You see, it was just 2 lanes. Then they come through and put that open in the middle and put 2 lanes, but it should have been 1-lane highway when I moved there. Because they bought a lot of our front yard to put that other lane in. So.
Okay. Well, so then you bought that house. Then what about the beauty shop?
So anyway, I said we had lived in a 2-family flat. So I said we had to do that. We bought this house. So then I said, well, I got to sell the beauty shop because they were still in the house. So the very next day, a lady come in. She said, I'm interested in buying the beauty shop. And I said, you are? Well, not, because she called me and told me first, because I said to Red, what would I ask if she does come in?
Yeah.
She said, I don't even know where you're located. She said, my husband died and I got all this money, and I'm not even a beautician, but I want to buy a beauty shop.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, that has to be God doing that.
Totally, 100%.
She hadn't even, because when she called me, she said, where are you located? And I'm on a street where nobody would want it.
Right, it's
it
kind of the back
dead
behind,
street,
yeah.
Alpha Manchester was kind of a dead end area.
Right.
And so I told her how to get there. And so when I told Red, he said, well, I said, what would I ask if she wants this shop?
Yeah.
And I don't know what we decided on it. And he said, okay. He said, that's what we'd ask her that.
Yeah.
And she come in, looked around, and she said, I'll take it.
My
And I said, well, there's a
gosh.
lawyer that lives upstairs. And I went upstairs, and he signed up, and he said, the beauty shop's hers. And he said,
Oh my
only
gosh.
thing is you can't use her name. She wanted to use my name. I had
Oh.
Elizabeth's beauty shop.
Oh, okay.
And he said, you can't use a name. No way
Okay.
can you use her name.
Okay.
And because she asked a kind of few questions. She said, when you go back, you introduce me as Elizabeth. And I said,
no,
I
they
said,
don't.
no,
They...
I'm not going. Aurelia was her name. Aurelia. Who would want that name?
Oh,
anyway?
interesting. That's my kid's dentist's name, Aurelia.
Aurelia?
Yeah.
That's what her name was.
Wow.
I thought, what a name. And because she wanted him to leave it, she said, no. He said, you can't go her name. He said, you can.
So he said you can't use the name, but she wanted you to still introduce her as Elizabeth?
Yeah, she wanted me to introduce her. And I said,
what a weirdo.
I can't do this. These women are all the people I go to church with.
Yeah.
I said, they're all church members. They'll think I'm crazy. And I said, no way can I introduce you like that.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't do it,
Oh my gosh.
I went and I said, now I'll work for you a week if you want me to. If you want me to leave right now, I'll leave. So she said, well, work a week. Well, I finished that day out, and that was asked.
Really?
So I did. She didn't. I don't know why she ever kept it or not. Because after
that is a miracle, really. That's a miracle.
It was. Because then when I went home, well, we was talking about the house, and the guy called and said, "Your house been sold. We hadn't even sold it on the market. And we had just listed it with the real estate." And he said, "I brought these people by because I didn't want them to stop because I was giving a party for Red's sister that was getting married." See?
Oh my gosh.
And I thought I didn't want to go. They were still. When she come back, well, they were still all had it all decoration.
Yeah.
Maybe I always thought that decoration sold it out.
So they didn't even look inside, and they bought the house.
No, and bought the house.
So you sold a house, sold a beauty shop, and bought a house all
within about less than a month. In about 3 weeks, we just moved.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. That is totally crazy. Okay.
So,
oh my gosh, that's definitely a God's interaction there.
God was in my answer. That's when it dawned on me. Hey, God's really taking care of me. I was doing a lot of praying.
He's totally taking care of you.
He was taking care of me.
Yeah, you definitely shout out.
Yeah.
What about what about when you lived on Highway 40? It was kind of a weird setup there because you were on the outer road, but the highway was down lower, and you experienced tons of people had accidents and things like that. But there's a really funny story about some kids that drove in from Hannibal to go to a concert, right? You want to tell that story? What happened?
Well, I don't know if these kids, now you're talking about the car wreck.
No. The ones where the car broke down and
those kids
Grandpa traded.
Well, we lived there on 40. We had a lot of people stopping for that. There was no filling station between Winsville and in the city. Now, that's that's over 50 miles.
Wow.
Nobody had gas. So every time we was about middle ways, we must have given gas away. We bought 3 cans, had 3 cans sitting in the garage that we constantly was either giving it away or some of them paid and some of them didn't.
Oh my gosh.
And we constantly people stopping.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is terrible. It got to be a bad, really scary place because cars break down.
Yeah.
Red got up through the middle of the night and had to take them over Baldwin or back to out here in Winsville someplace.
Yeah.
And I thought, it got too scary really to live there.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of scary incidents. But that was good though. We ended up selling it.
Well, what was the story about? I thought it was cool. So let me see if I'm going to retell it right. So a bunch of kids went to a concert from Hannibal, right? They drove down to like the Checker Dome or something.
They went to the end of the city. It was from Hannibal.
Yeah.
Well, a bunch of boys. Well, Red liked to hunt up around Hannibal. Yeah. So they went to Hannibal, and they come back, got right to the house, and the car broke down. Well, the only place to get it fixed was over on Manchester, but that was 5 miles, and it was night. It couldn't get it. So Red told him, he said, there was four boys and 4 girls or something, whatever they was. So he said, you call your parents and you tell them that you're going to stay at my house tonight. And he said, tomorrow I'll take you over in...
to Bo Boykman or something like that.
That was boys and girls both.
Oh, yeah. No, but the car dealership on Manchester, Bo Boykman or something.
So that's the only place he could go to. Red told him what was wrong with the car. Something broke on it. I forgot what it was. And he said, we can't get it till tomorrow morning. So one boy called. And he said, now will you call the other family, all of them around, tell them we're going to stay here. And Red talked to him. He said, they're going to stay at my house, and they're okay. And I just gave them all the blankets I had, and they all laid on the floor.
In the living room or family room?
In the family room. I had a long family room.
Yeah.
And they all laid on the floor there, you know.
Yeah.
And so Red got pretty well acquainted. And Red liked to hunt, so he said the boy wrote that Red carried it for years. I can hunt on his property. He went up for hunting several times.
So it was trade. Like his parents were so grateful that you were so hospitable. They said, "Come hunt on my property."
Yeah.
That was a good deal.
So Red went up there and hunted a lot on their property. Of course, we took care of the kids.
Yeah.
But the next morning, I fixed their breakfast and everything. Fed all of them their breakfast, and Red went over and got the part for the car and fixed her car so they could.
I don't really know how you had time to work with all the people that stopped by your house and needed and spent the night there, and you always were cooking and stuff.
That was just one night I had it, because I had one night, big snow came, and everybody out of the mall couldn't get home. And it was all young people. They all had cars and stuff. Some of them got in the ditch. Red had to get them out of the ditch.
Oh my God.
And I had a whole raft of them. I said, all I can tell you is just lay on the floor here. And there's a telephone if you want to call your parents.
Yeah.
So, and they did.
Oh my gosh.
And because some of them just had sandals on, and it came with snow. They couldn't get home. They was out. Red got the cars out of the ditch. I said he did more work there than he did.
Right. That house came with strings attached for sure. But you had a giant garden out in the back, like what, an acre? Like how big was that?
We had I think 2 or 3 acres there.
And
so we had an acre of it in the garden.
Huge. I mean, as a kid, I remember it just being huge. Yeah. And you had a laundry line that we used to like to hang on.
And the people would just drive in. They could turn around the back of the house and go back out. So they just drive in and see in the garden. And I had stuff on the front porch to sell, stuff on the back porch we used. But everybody'd say, well, why buy off the back porch? I said, well, that's not quite as good. So but they bought it too. So.
And did you have an honor system set up front? Like you had tomatoes out there and they
could
just put money
worked, in it? And I just put all the food out on the porch and told her the price was, and there was a can if you want to put it in there.
And they did.
Yeah. All except one lady. One time I was working at Dillard's in the beauty shop and got to talking, and she said, "Did you have that beauty shop over there? Is that the one that you had a garden on the front porch?" I said, "Yeah, that's me." She said, "Wait a minute, I owe you some money."
Oh, that's
so
hysterical.
$5. She said, "I got some tomatoes one time, and I didn't have any money." Didn't have any money. So she said, "I owed you $5." She said, "Here it is." I said,
"That's nice."
She said, "They're tearing your house down." I said, "Yep, it's been sold."
I remember. I'll tell a quick story. I remember Laurie and I driving out to your home in Wentzville. I keep thinking like I was about 16. I think she was in college. I was in high school, and we drove past your Chesterfield house. And we went in, and it was heartbreaking because they were starting to tear it out. The windows were out. Your curtains were like flying in the wind. And I think maybe they'd taken out your cabinets, and we just walked through there like, oh, this is like the end of our youth. Oh,
I went over there too one time when they was doing it. Because the women would come in the beauty shop and say, "Liz, they're tearing it out. What are you doing?" First they thought I was still there, and I said, "Oh, I've done moved." And then what are they doing to your house? I said, "They're going to tear it down."
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but go over there after they'd tell a few things was missing,
So that was hard. Well, you should tell that story if nobody knows about it. So were you even selling your house, or someone just came a knocking and said, "Hey"?
Oh, well, I don't know. We put the house up for sale.
I was thinking you didn't, but I don't know for sure.
I don't think we put our house up. Yeah. Different people just wanted it because it was located on the highway.
Right.
And good common sense said that sooner or later would go, property would be expensive.
Yeah.
And the guy that put the restaurant up there, he kind of wanted to buy it because he lived in back of me, but I didn't know him, see.
Oh.
And he stopped there because us and Arlene lived next door to each other, and we agreed one wouldn't sell without the other because it was just in two houses.
That's good, nice.
And we had probably, each one of us had 3 or 4 acres, maybe more.
Yeah,
so there was a big strip of ground on that corner they could buy. Now it's got a 4-story high up.
Yeah, I think it might even be more. Some kind 4 or 6-story corporate building.
It's a really big place now. Yeah, so we made agreement we wouldn't sell it. But then when he came and he said, "If I can get it sold commercial, will you take it?" And I said, "Good luck to you," and nobody else ever had luck.
Yeah.
And he sold the commercial.
Wow.
So
yeah. And I can't remember the name, but the guy that
he was a football.
Jim Otis.
That's
Jim Otis. Right.
Yeah. That's who he told me.
Football.
That mind just skipped me his name. I told him he was a football player.
Yeah.
And oh God, I want to see. And he missed
So
him.
another God thing, really, like a commercial real estate comes in and they offered you, we can't figure out how much it was, but a ton of money
Yeah.
for that house.
Yeah, it went commercial, see, so we
And
got
you
a lot.
say this, that like when people, because when grandpa retired, his pension was $200, $400.
I'd say about 300.
Okay, so $300.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to live and retire on $300 plus Social Security.
Yeah. And I didn't get nothing, see.
And you got nothing because you were an entrepreneur and business owner.
Yeah.
So the only reason you're living the life that you have now is because you sold that house in
selling that
Chesterfield.
house. It went commercial. That's the only thing done it. And we had a guy that knew how to invest the money.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was a little Jewish guy. He come down to the house, and I asked Red 100 times, "Where did you meet that guy?"
He's like, "Don't worry about it."
He never would tell me.
Yeah.
And I said, he invested that money. He really did a good job of investing. Between him and Red together, they invested it.
Yeah.
And well, I really made good off that money.
Yeah.
So I'm still working, living on it.
I know. Again, another God thing,
that's it.
you know, for sure. That's so good. So good. Okay. It's spilling that we already covered that one, Lacey asked about. Someone wants to know, all right, well, now we're going to hop around a little bit. Someone wants to know what your Christmases were like as a kid. Did you get gifts and stuff?
Yeah. We had a big Christmas every year.
Oh.
And Mom and Dad was always there, and both my sisters, when they got married, they was there. So I had them all.
But what about when you were little, when you were a kid?
We had Christmas. Mom and Dad always had Christmas, and we always got a lot of Christmas stuff.
You did? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you have a stocking?
Yeah, we hung up stockings. And the one year I wanted a bicycle really bad. And I went up to Montgomery Ward's in Taylorville, and they had a blue bicycle up there, and I wanted it. Oh, I wanted it. Well, I kept thinking, and next week we went, the bicycle was gone. Oh, my God. I like it died. And I said, and couldn't find nothing around the house that Mom had hid anywhere.
Yeah.
Bicycle's pretty big.
Right.
Couldn't find it.
And, so you were devastated.
But they had got it. So I got that bicycle.
Because you love to ride bikes.
Huh?
You've always loved to ride bikes, right?
Yeah, but didn't know how to ride it, Joe.
Oh, you didn't know how then?
And that Christmas was a big snow. Oh, but I'm going to ride that bicycle, snow or not. And Dad got me out on the road in front of the house, and we rode a little bit up and down. We always went to Grandma Curtis's for Christmas.
Okay.
And they lived out in the country. Dad rode the bicycle all the way out there. And I was really mad because he had 5 brothers, and they was all married. So they all rode my bicycle. I said, my bicycle's going to be worn out before I ever ride.
Oh, my gosh. Did anyone teach you that day?
Well, Dad tried to teach me, because I rode little ways and I couldn't ride it. And I said, so Dad had to ride it all out there.
Oh, my gosh. I love that. All your uncles wore it in.
I wore my bicycle out. I never forget. I said, don't you wreck my bicycle.
My blue Montgomery Ward bicycle. I love it. What were some of the big names or the most memorable clients you've had? I was impressed when you told me some of the ladies you cut their hair, especially in Creve Coeur.
Oh, over there in Creve Coeur, because I'm going to say where I had it, I don't just thinking about it. But in Creve Coeur, I had a lot of.
Well, I'm going to prompt you. I think you had Mrs. Dearberg.
Oh, yeah, I had Miss Dearberg. Yeah, she came in, and I knew her from the stores. And
Yeah.
Then I had a Mrs. Durbin. Now, they had a big trucking company.
Oh,
And
okay.
Durbin's in my day was like the black people are to where we lived. We had a lot of Durbins in there, and they lived very poor, didn't have nothing, really bad. Because
Okay,
Vicky's first customer was a Durbin, and she said, "Liz, I got a Durbin." I said, "Oh, but this is a rich Durbin.
Oh.
You treat her nice."
Oh my! And what about Babbler? Mrs.
Yeah, I
Babbler?
did Miss Babbler. Now, her husband was the head of the telephone company. She saved me a lot.
As in Babbler Park?
Yeah, in Babbler Park.
Yeah.
He was the president of or owner or something of that telephone company.
Yeah.
Because my phone was out for about a week, and she said, I
At home, your home phone was out. Okay.
And she called, and she said, I've been trying to get you. And I said, every time a drop of rain comes, we don't have a phone. And she said, wait a minute. So she got up and used the telephone, come back, and she said, you'll have a phone from now on. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, it'll be fixed. She said, my husband's the president of the bank, of the phone company. And I said, oh, and they called Red after, all them men come out there to work, or they'd piled it all in the ditch. And part of the wire was up alongside the house. It'd been there for 2 or 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Never had come back to do nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And Red said that day somebody knocked on the door, and he said, well, we'll get your phone and everything in. He said, if it takes us 3 days, we won't leave your house till we get it done. He said,
Well,
ooh.
okay.
And when I got home, he was told me, and I said, now if I can find somebody that took care of the electric, because the electric went out a lot. There was just 3 houses, and if the
You
electric
needed a
went
new
out,
electrician client, a
yeah,
wife of an
if
electrician.
you had a special place, but that restaurant wasn't open. It was if it had been open, we could.
Oh, they would have come in.
You're late
Oh,
on the line. So
yeah.
one
Yeah,
time
yeah,
we
yeah.
went 3 days no electricity
Oh my gosh.
because the
Because it
meter.
was just you three, the restaurant, you
Just
and
3 houses,
Arlene.
and then one house was empty, so we just we didn't
Oh.
have my
So you were
meter.
low priority.
The tree fell down and it hit the line and pulled a meter off the house. And I thought, well, this ain't nothing. So I called the electric company. He brought a meter and he said, here. And I said, what are you giving me that for? He said, find somebody to put it on our house. And I said, you don't do it? He said, no. And I said, well, set it there on the porch. I was 3 days. I couldn't find nobody
Oh
that would
my
have put that meter on the
gosh.
house.
Oh my gosh.
And Norman next door was the butcher. And he said, I'll see if I, and he called. He said, I can't find nobody. The
Wow.
electric company said to hook a meter up that wasn't enough money. They wouldn't just go up there and hook a meter.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
what
it was
they
too
did,
little of a job.
yeah, so what they did, they had to take my meter box off. They put a great big long box with 1,000
Yeah.
things
The
in
whole
it.
thing. The whole
The house
panel.
probably needed it anyway. But they could
Oh
charge
my
the electric company a lot
gosh.
more getting that all hooked up, see. But I thought,
What a
oh my
racket. That
Lord, we're
sounds like
living in
a
the country.
Yeah, that sounds like a total racket. Okay, what about when did you first go gray?
When I what?
First go gray.
Whew, real young.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
was,
thought. How young?
I was probably about in my early 20s. My
Ah,
mom went gray real early. And
me too. I
yeah,
started getting gray at 23.
yeah, yeah. So it come naturally. So yeah. The funny story on that though, wigs was coming out at that time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I got a wig. Now the wig, this consisted of a piece that went right around your head here.
Just
See,
the front?
yeah, just the front, and it must have an elastic thing, so you could
Okay.
put it on here and look in here. How do I look at that color?
Oh, it
So
was like a trial.
yeah, but
Okay,
only
that
one
you could.
color they had was gray. Didn't have no- So I thought, and I kept telling Red I'm going to dye my hair. And he said, don't you ever, I don't want you to be a blonde. Now, I don't know why he was against the blonde.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he said, and my hair was kind of a medium brown. So I thought, well, so I put this on one night, put the headscarf on, it was winter time, so tied the headscarf. All was
And-
showing was that little bit of blonde right there. I got in the car and I thought, well, we had about 2 blocks to go home or 3. He was going to kill me. And I said, now wait a minute, Red, calm down before we go in the house. I said, I took the
Yeah, yeah.
headscarf off, and he said, oh. I said, now I'm going to go in and let what the boys are going to say. So 3 boys, so I put the headscarf back on, went in. Well, boy, they laughed and go in. I said, oh my God, I could never be a blonde. You kids are trying.
Laugh so, oh no.
Then I go over to my aunt. She had moved, and so we went over there and walked in, and she had a house full of company. And I didn't know she was going to have this company. So got in the house, and they all started laughing. And one lady said, well, let me on a secret. What are you all laughing about? Because it was wintertime. We had our coats, and I had the headscarf on. And I said, they're laughing at me. And she said, why? And I took the headscarf off, and she started laughing.
It kind of reminds me now they have those hats for men that have hair on top.
Yeah.
That's like a baseball hat if you're bald and then you have the hair on top.
And I said, well, I can tell you right now, I'll never be a blonde because all I do is
Everybody's
make fun.
laughing. Oh
Everybody
no.
make fun of me.
That's terrible. I'm curious if you could tell why. Well, first of all, tell everybody what kind of car Grandpa always insisted that you have and why.
Well, I don't know why, but we always had a Ford. We always bought.
Oh no, I mean Grandpa Renfro. Sorry,
Oh, Renfro.
Grandpa Renfro.
Oh, he always wanted a Cadillac, and he thought all the time I was the one that wanted a Cadillac, and I didn't even want the thing, you know. And I never said anything, but he always bought the car, so he always come home with a Cadillac.
Yeah.
So his sister had her husband. They always had a Cadillac, so I guess that's why he thought it. So.
Yeah.
But I know when I'd go to church, I always thought, I'm thinking that too the other night.
Yeah.
Went to church and all them people, this was in Baldwin, they didn't have
Right,
nothing.
the Baldwin Baptist Church.
Yeah, and they didn't have anything. You know, one said, boy, you're really up in the class. And I couldn't figure out for a while what she's talking about, you know.
Yeah.
Then it dawned on me, oh, because I'm driving this Cadillac.
So they thought you were all snotty.
Yeah, I thought I was
Yeah,
snotty.
yeah.
I thought they wasn't friendly. I I really wanted to quit that church real bad, but I thought that's the closest Baptist church, and
Yeah.
I'm going to go if it kills me.
Actually, isn't it Ellisville Baptist? I think about it. It was Napoleon Ellisville Baptist on Clarkson. Yeah.
Now it's completely gone, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's now an extra space storage and a Caldy's coffee.
Yeah,
Yep.
the whole thing is going out, and I went there for
Yeah.
years, but I thought, so.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? Well, I kind of was excited that Grandpa had a fancy car because you taught me how to drive down on Chesterfield Airport Road, and I got to drive. There was nothing down there at the time except the jail. No Boone's Crossing, no outlet malls, nothing. And I could just drive that big car down there.
I taught all you kids how to drive.
That was the greatest. You had power button windows like before anybody else did. That was so cool.
Lisa, no, the last two.
Oh, saying like Jessica?
No, the one down.
Lisa? Todd?
No, one I kept all the time.
Oh, Lacey. Yeah, Lacey. Yeah, Lacey.
Lacey and Ryan. When I had them two, well, they was old enough to drive, but they wasn't either one had ever drove.
Oh.
So I took them down. I thought, I don't know. We had to go over to a park up there in Wentzville to drive there.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have it down there then.
It was too combusted.
But they even taught your mom how to drive. Your mom had never drove.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The first time she even rode the lawnmower, Red said, come in the house. He said, Kathy's riding a lawnmower. Says she never even rode a lawnmower. She don't even know how to drive a car. She said, Liz, you got to get busy and teach her. You kids are little. And about that time, Kathy come in the house and she said, Red, how much does a tree cost? Red said, well, I don't know what. She said, I just run over that one out in front. And he said, I knew she was going to, but she was driving like this.
And looking over. Did he get mad at her?
No, he said, that's all right. We didn't need that tree there anyway.
Oh,
that tree was probably about that high, but she took it down. It might have even been higher, but she took the tree down.
Oh, my gosh. That's hysterical. That is so funny. Oh, my gosh. Okay, let's see. Okay, guess who asked this story? Can you tell the story about the turkey giblets inside the turkey? You know who that is? You know
that was Red's sister.
Was it Bonnie?
No, her, wait a minute. The one I liked all the time.
Because my mom thought it was.
We called her Sparky.
Oh, okay. My mom wasn't sure if it was Flossie or Bonnie. Okay,
no,
so it's Sparky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Sparky. That's Red's youngest sister.
And what'd she do?
She cooked. We went down there to eat. She couldn't cook with the dirt. She didn't know nothing. But she had 3 or 4 kids.
Oh, man.
And so anyway, this time she cooked the turkey for dinner. We was all down there. Got there, and nothing. She was, if you ever knew Phyllis Diller, she was Phyllis Diller. I'm telling you.
I do know Phyllis.
Because she got ready to eat, and well, what's this thing? And there was all them turkey, all the giblets in the bag, still in that turkey.
Oh, no.
I said, oh, my Sparky, we ain't going to eat that. Let's put that over, that was still in the bag.
Oh, my gosh. So she was a comedian.
Oh, she was the biggest comedian ever was.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, somebody wants to know this. My mom wants to know this. Your wilted lettuce salad that you make with bacon, sugar, vinegar, do you put water in that?
I was thinking that the other day. I was like, how did I make that? I don't think so. I think I did. I might have put a few drops of water because vinegar is sometimes too strong.
Too strong, okay.
Yeah, because I use vinegar and water and a little bit of sugar and salt and pepper in it. Yeah, I made a lot of, I thought not too long ago, I thought, I want to make me some of that lettuce. I hadn't done that for
I
a
know,
long
that
time.
sounds good. If you do, call me out. I'll eat some of that. So speaking of food, tell everyone what you learned at age 94 about a shortcut to making apple butter and who told you about that?
I always thought you had to buy apples and peel them and core them and make the applesauce, then make the apple butter. And after what, about a year ago, I think it's just been about a year, that I was going to teach Alex and
Jennifer
how to make it. And Ellen said, call me. She said, Liz, she said, why don't you just buy the applesauce up there at Aldi's? And I said, God, where's your mind at, Ellen? All this time we could have been buying it. She said, I don't know if she said, I just dawned on me. And I'm saying, oh my God, we'll go buy it. 4 cans of applesauce. They're big gallon cans. 4 of them makes just the right amount for the recipe.
Oh my gosh.
And I said,
all those years.
Yeah, I'm thinking about making something now, but I haven't got no jars.
Oh, that's right. So Maggie's borrowed your jars.
She borrowed my jars. I asked Ellen, and Ellen said, oh, you can get some of mine.
I was going to say, she's got a big stash, doesn't
The
she?
next thing, it's a big pot I got that I got to sit outside that I cook it in. I put it in the oven and bake it for about 4 hours. But then to get it out of the oven, I always called Earl to set it up on the stove so I could can it.
Yeah.
And I thought, now who am I going to get that out? So
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it or not, because that's pretty big.
Well, I know Kate and, well, Jennifer too, if she's off, but Kate has always said she wants to learn so she could come out and be your lifter. She's strong.
Yeah, well, but you just don't know what time. Say, because it cooks 4 hours in the oven, so I try to get it in there early enough. If I do it one part one day and part the next, I was trying to figure who could get here about 3 or 4
We'll tag
o'clock
team.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be too late because I got to put it in jars yet and can it. So.
Right. So, well, we can plan that out. Yeah, we can plan that out.
I got to get a man over here to lift it.
Hey, you got strong women in the family. Kate and I can help. Yep. Steve Jafrita's retired.
I used to do it, but I can't do it now.
I love it. We can make that work.
Well, I'm thinking about you because I got one thinking about making some. I'm out of it. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll help you. You know that for sure. Okay, someone wants to know, is there truth to the story behind, I think, Grandma Skinner or someone knowing Jesse James?
Oh, that was my Grandma Grandpa Curtis's mother. She was my great-grandmother.
Curtis's mother, okay.
Yeah, she came over here from the old country. I said she come on a Mayflower, but Alex is kind of
doubting that.
Yeah, he said, but I said I still believe that she was one of the first passengers on the Mayflower that came over, because one of them told me that, and she's the only one that I know that lived. Grandma Porter lived. In my life, I was 14 years old when she died. So I'm the oldest grandchild, and she lived with us quite a bit.
Okay.
So she was good at telling us stories and everything.
Yeah.
So, but I forgot the question.
But how did she know Jesse James?
Oh, she said that she grew up out here in Missouri with Jesse James.
Oh.
And she said he lived real close to her. So when the show came out, she'd never been to a show because they don't believe in shows.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So she wanted to go. So Dad and Mom and us kids all went to see her, Jesse James, in the show.
Oh.
She said the show didn't play him like he really is, but it wasn't him, say.
Right.
And she'd never seen the show, so she didn't
get how that worked. Okay.
Yeah, how somebody else could dress up and look like supposed to be him.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting. Wow.
For somebody that never seen a show in your life, you don't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay, someone asked this story. You have a great story about why you had all boys. Why you had all boys?
Well, when I was a kid, I was 3 of us girls.
Yeah.
And I had to start
That's
ironing.
what it said. Okay,
early.
the rest. Yeah.
Yeah, my boy and everything had to be ironed perfect. We had puffy sleeves, and I said when I get married, When I get married, I ain't have nothing but boys, because I'm not ironing these dresses no more. I think God put that out there.
And there you go, 3 boys.
I think he done again. I think God said, okay, there you go.
Make a note of that. What about The Sound of Music? Tell me your thoughts on The Sound of Music.
I don't remember what
let's see. The Sound of Music was a movie that you watched yearly when it came in, and you really enjoyed it. The Sound of Music?
Yeah, I did. I remember watching it, but I don't watch it anymore.
Yeah.
But I hardly watch no movies because with the hearing aids, you can't hear.
Yeah.
I don't remember what about that one. But I just don't listen to music anymore because
it's hard to hear. Yeah.
And it don't come through plain. It just, there's no sound, like there's no rhythm or nothing to it for some reason.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, any station on television, if it's got a lot of music, I switch it off because can't hear it. I hear it, but I don't hear the music like it really is.
So maybe that's incentive for us to actually go get that new pair of hearing aids.
Because the newer aids might have it. These are over 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it might be that you don't get that sound in here. The new one says it sounds like it's more normal.
Yeah. I think we should follow up on that. You keep going back and forth about that. I think we should just say we're going to get them.
Because some of the television things I have to turn off because they don't come in on me.
What about, have you ever traveled outside of the United States?
I've been up in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, because I went up there a few times. We drove clear across Canada, went in this and across the other, and came out over down in Dakotas, someplace in the Dakotas. And back down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you fish up there and stuff?
Yeah, we fished up there. Everybody told me it was such a good fishing place, and but I don't think we caught less fish up there we did in Missouri.
You did or didn't catch?
Did.
You
We
did?
didn't catch hardly no fish up
funny,
there.
funny.
He said he was so mad. Everybody said, go to Canada, you can get good fish.
And it was not the same. You could
We
just
went
get
3 or 4 times up there.
That's funny. What about, I had this question that came to my mind the other day. This is totally off of any subject, but you know, you were talking about the war in your small town and how you lost all those boys. I was just really curious, when you were that age, did you have any idea what the Germans were doing to the Jews? Like, did you know that
No,
they were
I didn't.
killing so many people?
No, I didn't really know that. And Mom and Dad never listened to the radio. We hardly ever turned the radio on. I guess maybe it was music all that time. We might not even had a radio for a long time.
Yeah.
And I never did hear it. And we didn't get a television. I tell you that. We got our first television. We moved to St. Louis. Now, I was already married and had Harry and Rich.
Oh.
But Dad won it on a punch board. And there was a television about this big.
Oh my God.
7 by 7.
7 by 7?
And
Oh
I
my
and Red had
gosh.
just got married. And we living upstairs, Mom and Dad downstairs. So we'd go down there every night and said, can we watch the television with you? So
And
we're
you'd
all sitting around trying to look at that one little screen.
7 by 7. Oh my gosh. Oh man. So despite the fact that everybody, like Grandma worked in the plant or Grandpa worked in the plant, you knew the war was going on. You didn't know why the war was happening or anything?
They never did listen to it, never knew why the war.
Wow,
Only
so
thing I know,
interesting.
they had bombed Pearl Harbor. And in Pearl Harbor, Dad's sister was married to a man.
Oh yeah, right.
And he was
right.
over there, and he was killed over
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And didn't you say you've seen
Yeah,
it
we saw his name on the
on the
memorial when we were
board
just
over
there. Yeah.
And I said, that's when we picked up a little bit when the war broke out. That's when we knew it, because they was taking all the boys, see.
Yeah.
But we never listened to I don't know if they ever even told it on the radio or anything.
That's so interesting.
There was no televisions then, you know.
So that kind of makes me wonder, like, were more people mad at the Japanese after Pearl Harbor than they were at the Germans killing so many Jews? Like, it just seems like like Pearl Harbor hit home.
Yeah.
And so we were mad at the
Yeah,
Japanese.
I think so,
you know?
because we understood more. It was a part of us.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Otherwise, I said, I really didn't hear anything too much about the Jewish people till I came to St. Louis. Because really in Illinois, I don't think there was any Jews up there where I lived at all. Not that I know of. If they were, they didn't say nothing.
Did any of your customers ever talk about it when you'd cut their hair?
No, and I did have a couple. I asked a lot of customers.
Yeah.
Now, one customer, I did go over to her house. Her and him, they lived over there. I don't even know what their name was now. But I went over to their house. Seemed to me like I ate supper with them or something that night. And she was from over there. And she said, I was a little child. And my mother and dad put me out when these trains was coming through. Yeah. And she said, some lady grabbed my hand. And next thing I'm on a train. And she's telling me all about this. And I thought of that a lot of times. And I said to her when I went to do her later, now that the war's over, why don't you go over there? Maybe your people are still alive. She said, I'm afraid they'll keep me.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that.
And I often wonder, because I didn't know if her people was alive and nothing. And when she was telling me all about this, that's the closest I've ever been to somebody.
That fear has to just, kind of like your fear, you know, that fear is just always with you.
Yeah, and she said, I went over there, and, you know, she said, they just sold me out there, and these people picked me up. So she said, I thought I was their kid for a long time.
Wow.
And she said,
They saved her life.
And she said, I don't know my mom and dad. I said, well, why don't you go? She said, I'm afraid they'll keep me. And
I think I would be afraid they would have the same thing.
I don't know how you would find out.
Yeah.
Even, well, now times it got a little bit better even that, but there might be some way you could wire over there and out that I don't know.
Yeah, and hopefully there's records now that they can go find that. Okay, a few other, just couple little random things. What about, can you tell the story about how they gave you Aunt Eunice as a birthday present? And did you like it?
Didn't like it. Yeah, Mom had her in the middle of the night, so they got me up and took me to Grandma's house, and she kept saying I wanted a doll. I was 7 years old, and I wanted a doll. So when I got home that morning, Dad said, come on in the house here, look, and here's your doll. And I looked down and I said, I didn't want a baby. Mom said, Dad was mad because it wasn't a boy, and you're mad because it's not a doll.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. All right. Well, why don't we wrap it up by a couple things. One, or maybe this is just, we'll wrap it up with this. Do you, well, one, would you say you've had a good life?
I think I've had a good life. I felt happy in it. There's been ups and downs, but who don't?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I've liked my life, so.
That's good.
And I've been happy with it, so.
Yeah. Are you happy now?
Yeah, I am.
Good.
Lonesome once in a while.
Yeah.
A lot of lonesome because you're by yourself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I did have a life. And I do think after I and Red was married, he was a good person to really help me get over a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And he understood a lot, and I liked him for that purpose. And I thought I understood a lot more after that, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I got older too.
I think that's important for a lot of us to listen to because, like I said earlier, you know, my view of him was just kind of the cranky old grandpa that sat at the end of the dining room, the kitchen table in Chesterfield and hollered out, you know, Liz, get me some dinner or whatever, you know. But to know that he really was there for you makes me feel good and happy.
Maggie was real little. He died at that time. She was probably about 3 or something like that. And they always come around and come in that
in
big sliding door. And
in the back. Yeah.
And Red always sat in that chair.
Yeah.
So they'd been there several times. And she never said nothing about him, you know. And all of a sudden this day she come in, she said, well, where's Grandpa at? He's always sitting in that chair. And he'd already been dead about 2 or 3 months, you know.
Oh, man.
And she said, where's he at anyway? And I said, well, honey, I said, he's up in heaven now. Well, then she was really wanting to know. I said, Mom tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going to tell her.
Oh, man.
Because she wasn't big enough to understand anything.
Right.
But she said, he was always sitting right there, and he's not been there.
She was observant. Wow. Oh, man. Well, what about, and we'll tie these two questions in together. Like, a lot of things have changed over your life. So think about what's one of the biggest changes or maybe biggest inventions that you have experienced, but also then wrap it up with what advice would you have for all your grandkids or future generations that are going to watch this down the road. So start, I guess, with what's changed most over your life.
Oh.
or technology or, you know, whatever. What do you think has changed the most?
Well, I think there's a lot of changes in everything. That's my notion. I don't like this deal, the way they're wanting to change boys and girls around. I think that's horrible. I thought, I don't know if I'm hearing right or not, but that don't go with me at all.
Okay.
You know, I don't like none of that gender changing stuff at all. I think that's one of the worst things they're doing to the whole world right now. It's changing boys and girls and all that kind of stuff. And I think in schools it got really bad. I don't know how them people are teaching kids in school nowadays. I think that's bad. I thought, oh, I'm glad I haven't got no kids going to school.
Yeah. What about when you look through your whole life? Like, what's the biggest invention that you think has impacted your life or changed or that you've witnessed that
putting toilets in the house?
Oh.
I never had to use
I wouldn't have thought about that.
Never had an inside toilet till I was about 16, 17 years old.
What? What? Oh my gosh.
Dad and Mom bought a house in Decatur, and they kept saying, you got a stool in the basement besides upstairs, you know, and I thought, to me, as a stool was like 3-legged chair.
Yeah,
sit
right,
on, you know.
right.
And we had to stay out in the car while Mom and Dad looked at the house that he was going to buy.
Yeah.
And this villager kept saying, well, and the basement even got a stool in it. And I thought, well, I'm thinking of a milking stool.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
And we're sitting in the back seat, couldn't ask no
You didn't know
question.
you were farm folks.
What's that
school
stool doing down in the basement? You know?
Yeah.
I couldn't have under my
Wow.
figure that out to save my soul. When that guy got out, I said, why do you care if I got a stool in the basement? What's that stool doing down here?
Oh my gosh.
That's a toilet. I said, oh. So we had
gosh.
2 toilets upstairs and 1 downstairs.
That's pretty fancy. You've gone from 0 to 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
From down. I thought, boy, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. I am completely surprised that's what you said was one of the biggest things. But I can appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Getting in a house where you got plumbing and we had indoor water. We never had water in the house. We was lucky we had a well. You just walk out the back door and a well right there. We could just bring it in, you know.
Yeah.
But never to have it in the house. And I thought,
wow.
Mom's
I thought for sure you'd say something like airplanes or cars or something, but
toilets.
Water and toilets. So simple
Airplanes
things in life.
I don't know if we even had any airplanes. I never seen any that I know of. You know.
I don't even know when they were first invented.
I know the first car we got Dad got.
Yeah.
I liked it because I got out there and washed and cleaned it every day.
Oh, that's right. You've talked about that. You
I
loved
forgot what
cleaning it
it was.
because
A
you really,
Ford, but what kind it was.
because as for a girl, you were pretty infatuated with cars, wouldn't
Oh
you
yeah,
say? Like
yeah,
you loved
yeah.
cars. You
Because
cleaned your dad's car all the time.
yeah. Well, Dad didn't have no boys, and if had to go pick up his brothers to bring them over to help one another because
Yeah,
they all worked together. There's 5 of them,
yeah,
and so he'd say, "We get in the car and go over there and get so and so. Bring them over here to work," you know. And I was, I guess, a boy in the family driving a car with no license, and so. But we all lived in the country, so I just
yeah,
ain't nothing. I probably didn't run into nobody with a car other than to go get them to come in, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, so okay, so wrap it up by saying this. What advice would you give for your family and your future generations on how to live a happy life and what's the key to success, happiness?
oh, I don't know what would be.
Well, what do you think has helped you be positive and happy and
Well, I don't know. I think everybody's got about everything they had in life because I said when I started out we had nothing.
mhm.
No wash machines, no anything like that.
Yeah.
Now you got all that stuff that have no worry about anything, you know.
Well, think about like Nate's children or Kate's children or kids that aren't born yet. What would you tell them? Like what's the key to being a good human, good
Well,
in life?
I'd say listen to your mom and dad, but some of mom and dads ain't no good. So
Well,
I'm
that's
finding
true.
that out
That's
too.
true.
But I think you teach those kids because they're at the age now they're getting all that gender stuff and all that. And oh God, I hope they're not thinking of all that stuff, you know. Now I don't know if that's just a part of it I'm listening to on television or what, if it's really. But I don't like the idea of all that gender changing stuff.
That's on your mind a lot, it seems like lately.
Oh
Yeah.
God, every time you hear it, somebody's talking about, and they're teaching all this stuff, even in kindergarten and stuff. And I said, good God, let them grow up.
Well, I can assure you, since I sell in the education market, that it's not always like that, and there are good teachers, and things are still okay in schools.
I hope
Yeah,
so, because
yeah,
boy, I'm thinking,
yeah,
man, if I had learned all that when I went to school, I was about the 5th grade before I ever knew anything, you know.
yeah.
And I'm thinking, man. Then I made a couple of mistakes and come home and telling mom and dad. That's when I thought, oh, there's something wrong with that. Said the wrong thing.
Whoops. Oh. Well, I think you've done a pretty good job of living a good Christian
Yeah, and I
life.
worked hard on the boys. I do have to say, I think your best thing is if your kids would come home. If they got friends, bring them home.
Yeah.
And you get to know your queen. Now,
Yeah.
Red always said that too. Bring all your friends at home. Have your party here. I don't care how many you got. We'll have it here. I want to see who all's here
Yeah.
and how they act.
Yeah.
And I can tell you which ones. And he kind of told the older boys, which couple of them, he said, I don't like to go with this one and that one. And they'd come back later and said, you're right, Dad.
Yeah.
I wasn't with them, but they got in trouble, you know. And
Yeah.
nowadays it's probably even worse than ever because those kids are in his 60s, so you can figure it out. And all I worried about was kids smoking cigarettes. Never had none of this being
other
drinking
stuff to
or
worry about.
being on drugs or anything like
Right,
that. I said,
right.
you can't.
The amount of worries have definitely gotten greater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Any parting thoughts though?
no, I just
Words
think
of wisdom?
watch your kids and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I would say because
What about how to treat other people? Like think about that on how you did in life.
I think you should. I'm a very big person thinking about helping everybody. Even since I've lived here, I've just lately I was thinking, now what can I do for them over there? This one or that one. I know that lady up there's getting pretty sick up on the corner. I've been up there a few times, but I don't know her that well.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe I ought to go up there and see her. And I thought, I can't get up there myself.
Yeah. Well, I think we should kind of end it on this thing that you've taught me, that you've said before, is that you wake up in the morning and you say, okay, God, what next? What do you need for me to do next?
Yeah,
Who do you need me to help? What can I do?
Yeah, I always
think that's a
you're
good way
left
to
me here
live.
for a purpose. Now hurry up and show me all this stuff.
Yeah.
I got too much more time to
Yeah,
go.
and I think you live that way. Like you wake up and you're like, well, what can I do?
Yeah,
Can I help this lady? Can I do this? Can I
Yeah.
make a call to a mill, or can I make a call to a friend?
Yeah,
or-
even here now, like one time I seen this guy getting out and I knew his mind was getting bad. I was new here and I run out there and I said, where are you going? Well, he said, I'm going to try to find my house. And I said, I think it's back that way because I didn't know him either.
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
But I knew he'd come out of that house. And I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
I think that's your house right there. And I
Yeah.
said, anybody there? I know he's had a wife, but I didn't know then. And I said, can you get in that house? Because a few times I thought he couldn't get the door open. See?
Yeah.
And I kind of thought that. I thought, well, he needed help. But I do think
Yeah.
I think I've helped quite a few people in here, and I still like to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
You know.
Well, and you're always the party lady, kind of
Yeah.
like Grandma and Grandpa Curtis were, but like you deliver candy on Halloween,
Yeah.
you do fun things for people. I think Lisa got that skill from you too.
Yeah.
She's the crafty
Yeah,
crafty
doing a lot of
one.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I like that. I still like to do that, you know.
yeah.
Well, just like right now, I got a whole bunch of cookies over there, and I got a couple of cakes in there. And I can't keep them cakes on hand because everybody coming in to take the cake.
Because
I want to give you the cake. I got 2 or 3 in there.
Oh, nice.
So don't forget it. You get out the door. Oh,
well,
forgot
and perfect timing because it's Mom's weekend at Mizzou, so I'm taking my cake right
Oh,
to Nate.
okay.
Yep.
That's his favorite.
I know it. I know it. That's good. Well, I'll just wrap it up by saying, Grandma, we are so grateful for your life, and I'll
I'm
probably get
grateful for your
emotional.
kids too.
Well, thank you.
Your
But
kids
like,
are all of you have been really good helping me.
good, good.
And but I really need it now, so I thought that's good.
That is good.
Yeah.
I think you have a good family. We're lucky to have each other. But you've really, like,
I
like
like
my
it.
good memories in life are when I think about my summers at your house,
Yeah.
out in the backyard, doing handstands, going to Six Flags, eating Kentucky Fried Chicken in the
And,
parking
and
lot
there
of
for a
Six
while, I
Flags.
took your kids once a week to everything.
Yeah.
I said,
You were
that
like
was
the
kids'
field trip grandma. Yeah.
Every week we went on a field trip,
Yeah.
take a picnic.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was really, those are my
And I
some of my
took
favorite memories.
a lady across the street, her and her daughter, well, a couple of times, and she said, and they lived in Westfield their whole life. And she said, we've never been to the library. I said, right here in Westfield, you've never been? And I took her down to the zoo and around.
Oh, man.
She went with me in a car over the kids. And I said, you're the mother, you've never done this, and you lived here your whole life.
Yeah.
She's never been to the zoo, never been to the art museum. None of them. Every place I could think of, we'd go.
Yeah, yeah.
Every swimming pool. I was thinking the other night, 3 or 4 of these swimming pools are all closed up that I used to go to.
Oh, no. Remember
Yeah,
Safari
Quiver-
Camp in Quiver River?
Yeah, and it's kind of went way down because, boy, we had a good swimming area there.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought,
yeah.
there used to be a place between Westfield and here, Chesterfield and here, that I always took you swimming. It's not there no more.
Oh, man.
And I thought, we had a good
Yeah.
time at all them places.
Right. Well, we have our memories. We have our
And I
memories.
took you down, well, you and a bunch of other kids all down there, great, famous
I
bar.
knew you were going to say that. I knew it. We couldn't get past
You was
it.
my wild kid.
Hmm.
I had about 4 or 5 of you. So sometimes if I took Eunice's 2, then
Oh,
I
yeah.
had, it was Eunice's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eunice's 2 along to
Shalimar.
it with it. So I had to get somebody that said, come on, Art, you got to help me. You're bigger. And you got on that kitty cart and rode it. And I thought, oh my God, you got on the escalator or all that. I thought you got on that
The elevator.
elevator.
Yeah.
I scared to death. And Laurie was crying. We got to find her.
Where did you find me? I forgot.
Oh, you was just riding in that little car all over the store, just on that floor. You wasn't too far from us,
Oh,
but
my
you couldn't
gosh.
see through them aisles.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to get too far apart because I didn't want to lose all of it.
Right. Well,
That's when they had a toy land in Famous Bar. They don't do that no more. So,
Oh, yeah.
but
yeah.
that whole upstairs
Yeah.
was toy land, so kids was just playing all over
Oh,
up
my
there.
gosh.
And everybody loved to go there because all kids was just packing in there.
Yeah.
And
Having
you
a
was
good
a
time.
wild. I said, you was the only one I had to hang on to.
Oh, that's
Laurie,
funny.
Todd and Lisa didn't turn loose of me. They grabbed here or they grabbed my pants. They never turned loose of me one bit. And you and Laurie just
Off we went. Well, I think all of us have super great memories, and we're grateful for the time that we had with you, Grandma.
even Lisa, Genesis 2 kids, they
Yeah.
always went a lot too.
Yeah.
So Cheryl ever says now every once in a while, I want to go on them parties again. I said, too okay.
Field trips. Well, you went with one on them to the Clydesdales not too long ago with Cheryl.
Yeah,
She took you on a field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might go with them one of these days or something or other. But
Yeah. That's good. Well, we'll wrap it up by just saying, I know I'll speak on behalf of everybody that we love
Yeah.
you and we're grateful for you.
yeah, I enjoyed every bit of it.
Good. Oh, we forgot to say this too. I don't know if the family knows this, that Grandma is on the cover of Grandparent Talk. It's a picture of Grandma. This is still sold out there. So some of the questions we asked those today. So thanks everybody for submitting your questions. I hope I got to them all.
Hope we entertained you all real good.
Oh.
Well, I want to say I had a good life. I've enjoyed it all. I had some really good grandkids, kids and grandkids. So I'm really satisfied. I think the Lord took good care of me.
Yeah, you were a good.
I know in a lot of places where I can see the Lord step right in and help me out. So I have to give Him credit for a lot.
You walked a Christ-like life, though, too.
Yep,
Yeah.
I try to live it. I'm hoping I'm doing really good. I don't know.
Yeah.
As you get older, you can't do as much as you'd like to do, but I still think I do pretty good.